This is virtual racing with real-life stakes. Inches from the wall, you can feel it. The excitement, the emotion, the drama.
To win the championship, it's been a dream of mine since second grade.
Great drivers perform when the pressure is at its highest. And that's right here. Right now.
The road to $300,000 has a dance with the Lady in Black, where tonight from Darlington, South Carolina's virtual Darlington Raceway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 14 of the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We're happy to have you strapped into the virtual seat and along for the ride with us once again on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com, where alongside Tim Terry, as always, my name is Evan Pasoko, and Tim, here we sit with just 3 races left to go until the playoffs begin, and our top 8 cut line still far from decided.
Yeah, with 3 races to go, Evan, still lots to be decided, but unlike Daytona a couple of weeks ago, you can kind of control your own destiny here. You see on your screen who is on the right side of the inch and who is on the other side of that cut line. That is going to change many times throughout this evening.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about this all night. We'll be tracking these points. Of course, the 4-time champion Ray Alfala on the bubble with a lot of drivers nipping at his heels. It's going to be fun not only tonight, but through the rest of the regular season. Well, we're getting set for one of the most difficult races on the calendar, so let's take you for a lap around the virtual Darlington Raceway as we hand things off to Michael Guerrilla.
Hey there, it's Michael Guerrilla from Jimmy for Esports, and I'm here to take you for a lap around Darlington Raceway. Of course, coming at the green flag to start the lap, heading off into turn 1, getting nice and high against the wall. And then you want to head down towards the apron, the dotted line, as close as you can. Let the car slide up to the second seam, and then just past the Darlington sign, start turning your car back down to the bottom lane. And then as you head off into turn number 3, make sure you lift at the safer barrier where the gap is, and then you want to be back in the gas before the Darlington sign on the right, and then make sure your right sides are above the seam all the way throughout the corner to maximize the corner. And that's a lap around the track, too tough to tame.
They're going to be doing it 184 times this evening, Tim, and as qualifying has already drawn to a close, Michael's got a little bit of work cut out for him. You're standing by with the driver of the 15.
Yeah, let's catch up with the Jim Beaver Esports driver. That's Michael Guerrilla. And Michael, you have a little bit of work to do tonight, starting in position number 33. What do you got to do to bring this thing to the front?
Honestly, we just got to really throw everything at it. I mean, it's basically points or bust at this point because since we're sitting a little bit further back in the points of what we'd like. And sucks that I had a bad qualifying, but I mean, it's Darlington. It's one of my better tracks, so we're going to throw everything we got at it. Our number 15, Jim Beaver Esports Polaris Mustang is going to be looking to go to the front, and hopefully we get this thing righted towards the end.
We've seen a lot of clean races here in the past. How is your team setting up for this? Do you guys anticipate a few cautions in this race, or do you expect this thing to go green for the long haul?
Yeah, it's kind of been difficult to judge because usually each year there's been at least one caution during pit cycles, so that's always just kind of thrown everything out of whack in that circumstance. But we're setting up for it to be a green flag race. Obviously, we're expecting some kind of contact at some point during the race. Don't know if it's going to bring out a caution or not, but we're setting up like it's a green flag race. If yellow does come out, hopefully we come out on top of the beneficial side of that and make gains off that.
Well, we look forward to seeing this play out. Good luck this evening.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
There you go, Evan. That's Michael Guerrilla, and we'll see what he can do with the number 15 starting in P33.
We mentioned that the qualifying session has already drawn down to a close, so there's only one thing left for us to do. Let's go down trackside, turn up the music, and get set to drop the green flag for race number 14. Pole position goes to Michael Conti, the 15th in his career, and he'll bring us to the green flag this evening, joined alongside by Nick Ottinger. Keegan Leahy, Ray Alfalla, big playoff names on row 2. Kerwin, Zelensky, your top 6.
Yeah, you see the second page here. You got some drivers that need some great runs here. You look at Brad Davies, the outside of row number 5. Logan Clampett, both Burton Kligerman esports teammates in row number 6 with Bob Bryant to the outside.
And a couple of teammates down there as well. Matt Busa, Jimmy Mullis, some notable names. Mullis close to the playoff cut line ahead of Christian Challoner through your top 18.
Looking back through, you got Garrett Lowe on the outside of row number 11 with Ryan Luza to the inside. That is going to be a row to watch here this evening.
And now you get towards the back half where there is work to do. Teammate to Michael Gorilla, Eric Smith going to be on the inside row number 15 alongside Malik Ray as we look through the field of 37.
And these are the drivers at the back that really have to go, maybe miss their mark in qualifying. You see Michael Gorilla there, and the G2 teammates is Jarl Tien and Alex McCullum on the inside as well.
Look top to bottom at your starting grid here tonight from the track, too tough to tame. So, Tim, we talk about how difficult this race is. Tell us more about it with tonight's Asus race analysis.
One of the longest races we've ever seen here at Darlington in this series, 184 laps. We talked to Michael Gorilla. That fuel window might come into effect 65 to 70 laps, but we also have 6 tire sets, so some caution flags come out. Probably going to see these guys down on pit road taking tires. So 1 set on the car, 5 in the pit area at their disposal. Pit road speed, 45 miles an hour. This one is going to be a very entertaining race, I think, Evan, when you look at it. And when you look at the weather, we got a beautiful night here. 80 degrees, wind speed just barely 3-4 miles an hour, track temp at 84 and mostly cloudy. This one is going to be fun.
And most importantly, you can see the sun is ducking behind the grandstands in turn 4, so we will race from sunset tonight here from Darlington. So as these drivers get set to do battle, we're going to have multiple onboard angles to take a look in with basically your entire field over the course of the night. We'll be checking in with those onboards as tonight's coverage rolls on. I got a long way just to survive and get to the end of this one. And there is your driver wall. A look at all of the drivers, plus me, that you'll be seeing on board with this evening. We'll be checking in with them as the night goes on. So we're doubled up, Tim. Lights on top of the pace car. Third to last race of the regular season. If you're new to eNASCAR, there is no win and you're in here in Tuesday nights on the simulation, and it is only top 8 into the playoffs. So points going to be big. Do we see drivers points race and avoid maybe some of those more close contact and chaotic moments that Darlington is known for?
Well, you got to get through these first couple laps, Evan, try to find yourself a place to race, and then you can decide whether you're going to points race or whether you're going to push it towards the front of the field. It's a long race, 184 laps. We're going to see all these strategies play out here at the Stadium.
And as always, we're happy that you are spending your Tuesday evening with us here on the iRacing News Sports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. The pace car going to dive to the safety of the pit lane this time. The field in the hands of the number 8 WR1 Sim Chassis Chevrolet of Michael Conti as he brings the field at a 4, and we say, let's go racing from Darlington. And lap 1 held by Conti up at the front, now side by side for third. High side for Nick Ottinger. He holds off a challenge by Ray Alfalla. They maintain as Keegan Leahy, Tim, using the inside to pick up a spot early.
You saw Ray Alfalla that inside line for a couple laps trying to manage it. Now Nick Ottinger back on the attack at the 32 of Keegan Leahy as they run down the front straightaway, looking for Ottinger to try to pick up a spot. He went to the high side, and it looks like that car might work low too.
And something to keep in mind as well is you're noticing a whole lot of different looking race cars tonight. We'll be checking in with all of these throwback paints. A NASCAR tradition becomes an eNASCAR tradition. A lot of throwbacks to the real world and more. We'll be talking about those as the night goes on. Just in case you're wondering, hey, why does that 2 car look different? Why does the 23 look different? Same drivers as you go on board with Clampett.
Yeah, Evan, the one thing that I saw there with Logan Clampett just trying to find a line right now, those drivers in front of him, a little bit single file as you try to find a place to run here. Looking at this race, there's been a few trends throughout this Darlington Raceway. This racetrack, Evan, we've seen different drivers win. 4 drivers in the past have won their first race at this racetrack. We could very well see a 5th first-time winner here this evening. We touched on it with Michael Guerrilla. The record at this racetrack is 0 cautions. The average caution count in the last 7 races, 2.9. Strategy, I believe, is going to come into play here this evening. Stay on pace 3 times in the last 6 races as the leader only left 10 cars or less on the lead lap. Only 6 cars finished on the lead lap here in 2018 when we had 0 cautions in the race. Lead lap, 6 of the 10 races that have been run here have seen the leader lead the most laps, and that amounts to over half the race. 3 of those dominant performances have landed the driver in victory lane, and 3 times they have ended up short. Nick Ottinger led 173 of 183 back here in 2013. And at 184 laps, Evan, this is the longest race at Darlington that we've had on record by, of course, 1 lap. Most of the other races here, 183 laps all the way back to 2010 when we ran 180 laps. So this racetrack, we talk about the history that is in this racetrack as you're right on board with Michael Conti looking back at the field. There's been a lot of history here in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series when it comes to Darlington.
A ton of it, and of course tonight's distance just past 250 miles, 251 by the time we get to the end of it, unless we need some overtime. As always, all races in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, 50% of those in the NASCAR Cup Series. You can see on those previous results, though, Michael Conti did not have a good go when we were on the high banks of Daytona International Speedway last time out. That has hurt him a little bit, dropped him a spot in the points, down to 5th. He's doing a real good job of bouncing it back right now, and nobody really inside of the top 5 threatening anybody immediately, but a car length or so in between 1, 2, 3, 4, as they all stay within a second of that top position. Again, the only pass that we saw up here was on that opening lap, but when Leahy went underneath Ottinger to get away P2.
Just keeping a half eye on the top 10 right now, Evan. For the most part, everybody's kind of running the same line right now. There's some drivers that are trying to poke down to that inside and maybe try something different. Colin Keister's been running a lower line in 1 and 2 than the rest of the field, but for the most part, everybody is running the same line right now, trying to find their way around this racetrack. Ottinger continues to kind of poke the nose to the inside of Keegan Leahy, but nothing doing there. Been trying for about the last 7 laps or so to get by that 32.
Well, as we're 11 laps into this race, let's introduce the 3rd member of our broadcast team tonight. Down on the pit lane, Justin Prince. JP, what you got for us?
Thank you very much. And some of the discussions pre-race was dirty air, and more dirty air. Lots of drivers were expecting it to be very difficult to try and make passes and maintain grip around the racetrack. Specifically, a couple drivers mentioned to me, and as well amongst each other, that they were expecting it to be very difficult to try and gain track position tonight. Evan, this could be a tricky race throughout the 184 laps. The question is, which teams in turn were able to adjust best to the dirty air?
On board with the Grand Bolin, there you can see this battle going on, back for 18th and 19th position, and on board with the Joe Gibbs Racing driver, the Coca-Cola on board, and again, he's exactly where he started. I think that's true that a lot of drivers get a struggle to get through traffic. And Tim, I was going to kind of throw out the stereotypical line, if it's more so a driver versus track versus a driver versus driver but it's kind of both. I mean, this track is hard enough to get around on your own. That's your primary focus. The very late turn in, basically in turn 2 is where the apex is for 1 and 2. The much tighter 3 and 4 here, where they're up against the outside wall, but also, I mean, it's not really designed to go too wide at any points. Is Bolin on the bumper that time, maybe trying to loosen the 55 machine up, but you're going to be hard-pressed to find anybody force you to pass unless they've really got a good run.
Yeah, they found a groove. Everybody's really freight training around here right now, trying to log some laps and get to the end of 184 and really see what their cars have in the early run of this green flag run. And for the most part, you see out the windshield of Graham Bolin's car, there's not really a whole lot of moves being made as he pokes that nose back to the inside. This is probably the most intense battle on the racetrack right now. And Nick Ottinger's not really pushing the issue. He's just trying to flash that nose to the inside a couple of times, trying to get a run on Keegan Leahy, but really can't get it. Great run here out of the corner, though, down the straightaway into corner number 3. He just can't seem to get that run into the corner and make it on Keegan Leahy.
Looking a little bit to the inside, that time to 4, and as this battle for second picks up, you can see the string of single file cars behind. They have a little bit of an advantage over Alfalo, who may need to be worried about Casey Kerwin in the mirror in a couple of laps. But what this battle for second is doing is it's allowed Michael Conti to pull away a little bit for the race lead. Ottinger again looking to the inside as he's trying to get that spot, but it's not going to happen. He'll have to tuck back and reset for the moment. On board, there's the 75 machine of Phil Diaz throwing it back to the Miller High Life number 22 machine, Tim Terry. That is the Bobby Allison throwback. We mentioned a lot of these throwbacks, of course, back to real life cars, and that's one that you'll instantly recognize as I think most of the field participating of the throwbacks tonight, and that's a good looking car, even if it is on a Mustang, I think.
Yeah, it's got some work to do right now, but sitting back in position number 35. But I think he might be biding his time a little bit here, Evan, as he tries to work his way through it, maybe feel that race car out and see what it has over the 184 lap distance. This battle continues on for position number 2. Nick Ottinger trying to get the run out of that corner, trying to get it down to the inside. Looks like it turns a little bit better in the center off than Keegan Leahy, but can't really set up that run down the straightaway.
Yeah, that's the key is, again, you can park on the bumper all you want into the corner, but again, unless you have a good run, you're not going to get anywhere down there on the inside. It worked for this initial pass where it was Leahy getting around Ottinger on the green flag, but aside from that, you're going to want that preferred outside lane. You're either going to need a mistake or get enough positioning for the driver to kind of stick the hand out the virtual window net and say fine. And that challenge going to cost Ottinger. He is slow on the back straightaway. Alfala looking, but he'll stay for the moment. 2, 3, 4. No changes. Next in line, the 14 machine of Brandon Cattell. That's a 2008 Clint Boyer Xfinity Championship throwback paint scheme. We want you guys, by the way, tuning in at home. Let us know what your favorite throwback is as we look through the field tonight. Use the hashtag eNASCAR throwback. I know there's a lot of tough ones, but there's a case, Tim, where the driver's throwing it back to his team owner.
And that's a pretty neat scheme. Love that look at that BB&T throwback scheme on the number 14 of Brandon Cattell. And he's actually battling with Phil Diaz right now. We just spoke about Phil a few moments ago. So they're having a nice little battle for position number 34, albeit in the early stages of this one.
If they want to get going, they're about 9 seconds off of the race lead. You can see Phil Diaz looking to the inside, but even back in the 30s, these drivers aren't going to be forcing the issue. And then you go up the road just a little bit to the number 6 machine of Nathan Lyon, our next throwback paint scheme, Tim. And there we go, our first non-touring series throwback.
Well, it's still a USAC. It's still a touring division per se, and Ryan Newman had a ton of success in that race car, and Nathan Lyon having some success right now, passing the number 10 of Justin Bolton. That's a battle for P32. So Nathan Lyon beginning to move his way towards the front of the field.
And what a championship in that car back in the day. And you mentioned him getting around Bolton with the normal colors on board that Bush delivery for Tim. I know you're a huge fan of that one, so maybe in a couple of years people will be throwing it back to that current look for the number 10 Ford that we see not only in real life but as well here on the service. And right-hand side of your screen, again, still monitoring all the battles. That's the 88 machine of Brad Davies. His True Timber Chevy still holding strong ahead of the 77 of Bob Bryant because Cordy Vincent just put a move on him. It's a nice pass for the Alien Wear number 27 Mustang. Vincent, one of those drivers on the cusp of a playoff spot. Needed a good points run. He's top 10. That's good.
When you put Corey Vincent under pressure, he usually performs really well. So keep an eye on that 27. He knows that he's got to get up there and get a couple of points to get himself on that good side of the bubble. Michael Conti's gone up in front, Evan, about a second and 2/10 or so, 1.2 ahead of Keegan Leahy, Nick Ottinger, and the rest of the field. And when you look at that battle for second that we just checked in on about 10 laps ago, it's kind of a non-existent battle now because Keegan Leahy has put some time on Nick Ottinger.
Yeah, I thought that the initial battle for second and the third was going to allow Conti to get away just a little bit, and it did at first, as he was able to pull to about 0.6 of a second. But since that battle has kind of simmered down just a little bit, he's been able to extend it on his own, as it's about a second over Leahy, who was pretty safe in his own right, up above Nick Ottinger third. And again, I'm still thinking that Alfala-Kerwin duo may be where to look here, but so far, nobody's gotten a real good look on anybody. They stay fourth and fifth position, no change for them. Even Zelensky, your race winner from the Daytona Super Speedway 1 week ago, P6. Those three drivers haven't budged in the opening 26 laps. And we talked about the differences between some of these races that have the yellows that mix up the strategy and some of the races that don't. Well, the guy up front wants it to stay green, and there is his throwback. Michael Conti running out in front, a throwback to 1996.
That's a Hut Strickland throwback. Looks pretty good on that race car, the WR1 Sim Chassis entry. And Conti doing a great job here at Darlington. He knows how to get it done. He's won here before, led a ton of laps at this racetrack, but now he's going to have to put up with Keegan Leahy. Leahy has started to bite into that lead that Michael Conti has, so hopefully Conti can, maybe try and get some more extra time padded to that lead. But look at that 32 car. Beautiful looking race car in position number 2.
It is, and it's going to be a better look with each passing lap for Conti in the rearview mirror, because Leahy, now that he kind of shook off that challenge by Nick Ottinger, is not allowing the 8 machine to pull away anymore. Keegan Leahy is pretty much sticking with him at about 1 second, so that's not a distance in which he can press at the moment. But if you can just maintain, maybe you get a little bit later on and into this run, and you're going to be in a good position to be able to stay in contact. And there's the onboard look up top, and then the throwback on the bottom for Keegan Leahy. Tim, I think easily one of the best looking throwbacks in the field here tonight. 2003 Ricky Craven.
And you look at that, that was Darlington back in 2003, throwback to Ricky Craven's win. Keegan Leahy supporting that throwback or sporting it on that race car. Ricky Craven from Newburgh, Maine. Obviously, Keegan Leahy from the next state or next province over in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So nice little throwback to Ricky Craven, currently running in position number 2. But he's trying to reverse what that photo is, Evan. He's trying to get out front right now in second as the caution flag flies for the first time.
Yeah, I was just thinking, looking at that, John Gorlinski was on my mind, and it is John Gorlinski who is around for the first caution of this race as they were coming to complete lap number 29. It was contact between Gorlinski and Bolin. It looks like nobody getting any severe damage, and you can see front straightaway already clear as your race to the right Conti comes on by, but not what the number 8 machine wanted up front, because he was enjoying all the clean air out front. Instead, we'll slow things down early on in this one. But obviously, Tim, we mentioned the 6 sets of tires for this race. They start with one of them on the car, so there's only 5 sets of tires available down pit road. Only 30 down with 153 to go. I think we're at the point where everybody beginning to come in for 4 tires and fuel here.
You got 5 sets of tires down on pit road, and I think you're going to be able to use them. It's plenty, I think, considering with the fuel mileage and the way we saw that first 30 laps play out or so, where we saw that green flag look to this race. Everybody's going to come down here, get 4 tires packed full of fuel, and try to get that full fuel run in. This was about halfway into this run, Evan, so this is a great gauge on how these cars are going to handle throughout the next run or two.
And we'll watch it all through side by side as we take an opportunity to step aside, working the first yellow here at Darlington.
For those living together and those living apart. For classmates, graduates, and teachers making the best of it. For the restaurants delivering to our doorsteps. For the frontline workers putting it on the line every single day. For this great nation determined to be stronger on the other side. Thanks to all of you, we'll be together again.
The eNASCAR, and by Asus, an official gaming hardware partner of the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. I want to remind you to enter tonight's Asus giveaway. You could win a 1-year iRacing membership along with a Strix Scope TKL Electropunk keyboard, a mouse, a headset, and more. You can enter that giveaway by going to the Asus Twitter handle. It's at ASUS_ROGNA. Find the tweet from today, click the link to enter, and you could walk away a winner tonight as well. Again, that's at ASUS_ROGNA on Twitter. We're back live from Darlington, working under our first caution flag of the evening. Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry with you. And Tim, we saw under the yellow that despite having the #1 pit stall, Michael Conti lost out on pit road. It was Keegan Leahy with the undercut. Going to the point as we take a second look at what put us under the yellow flag to begin with Gorlinski and Bolin here.
Yeah, you see John Gorlinski get a little shot in the shorts there, a little free coming off of corner number 2 and or corner number 4, and it Kleksak Novak as well. Novak has had zero luck this season, and he's going to have to come from behind once again this evening at Darlington. But we're getting ready to get back to green. Keegan Leahy going to control this restart at the completion of 34.
It's twilight hours in South Carolina. The pace car down and in. Let's see what the 32 Toyota does up front. Green flag flies. We're back underway. Into the outside wall goes Bobby Zelensky. A couple more cars out of control. The 17 of Keister slow. That's going to stack them up on a back straightaway. Reynolds into the inside wall. The 77 of Bryant as well. And we are back under yellow.
And it took about a half straightaway or so, Evan, for that thing to really materialize. But once it did and did big, as the 77 of Bob Wright, the 3 of Blake Reynolds among the big casualties in this one, along with the 5 car getting a lot of damage to Matt Boosa's race car, as the yellow flag will come out once again on lap number 35.
Quick yellow and a good restart means that Keegan Leahy was able to maintain the race lead and all of that. And I was about to say, as I was getting ready to come back in anyways, that it was almost a bad moment for teammates Bobby Zelensky and Ray Alfala, because they both got a little bit squirrely down in 3 and 4, side by side off for the restart, and then half a lap later, it is right near those two where all of the chaos kicked off. We'll get a second look at a moment. It basically a wreck that started in 1 and went all the way to about halfway down the back straightaway. That will check things up quickly, and let's take a look. Alfala said over the radio, Tim, that he just got hooked. Let's look. The 23 Michigan Kerwin was behind them.
Yeah, they're going to go down into the corner here, and a little bit of contact in between those two, and Kerwin might have got in there as well, but tight quarters racing, and then in behind 2-3 wide, and everybody trying to react and trying to get by it, at least. As you mentioned, it started in the middle of 1 and 2, and it took about a half straightaway or so, or a quarter lap to really materialize, but once it did, it took out a few really good race cars there, and for the second time in about 10 laps, we got some good race cars down on pit road getting damage fixed.
Yeah, it's a tough break. That's the only service you're going to be seeing under this yellow flag as damage repair. Novak down, Busa in, Blake Reynolds, Bob Bryant, the 4 drivers, Casey Kerwin as well. So make it 5 that are parked in their pit stalls right now, trying to get some of the damage fixed. Still early on in this race, just now inside of 150 laps to go on the scoring pylon. So we are a long road from home, and big implications. You talk about Novak and the struggle the season's been for him. Tim, he just had a great showing at Daytona last week, got himself back up against the relegation bubble, was 19th in points coming into this evening. If this car stays outside of the top 30, that will hurt him back down. So we talk about our top 8 playoff fight. That's going to go for the next 3 weeks until we get into the playoffs, and then we'll start talking about the battle for the championship, but the battle for the top 20 just to stay in this series for next year. Going to be something as well that we'll be touching in, and that's going to go all season long. So not just these 3 races left to go before the playoffs, but that'll count all 4 playoff races once we get there as well. But we didn't really see Nick Ottinger get a good jump at Conti there. Again, that's how we saw Keegan Leahy get second on the jump on the initial green flag. He went 3rd to 2nd, up on the inside of Ottinger. Ottinger going to try to do the same to Conti here, but didn't have the jump necessary. That's something that we'll try to monitor, Tim. And this is kind of the point where I always look for, who's the guy who's picked up a lot of spots. And really, there's not a ton of them. You got Kane Cook up 7 spots. He's in 10th. Malik Ray up 15 spots to 15th. But other than that, not a lot.
Yeah, there's some comers and goers, but with the way that these drivers have been running, they got single file on that very first run, Evan, to try to get some green flag runs. So let's talk to Bob Bryant, though. Bob, how bad's the race car?
We're killed. We're going to be riding around for the rest of it, but yeah, it's just a product of the race, and they were side by side in front of us, and it looks like somebody got into somebody, and I was trying to scoot by on the outside and just got hooked right there at the tail end of it. So it's a shame, but we'll ride around for the rest of the day hopefully and see what we can salvage.
Haven't really spoke a lot to you since the move to Burton Kligerman Esports. Let's talk about that move. How cool is it to be with this 77 team now?
Yeah, definitely good. Found a good home here. So yeah, Parker and the whole Burton Kligerman team has really treated me right. And we got Logan pretty close to the playoffs, and hopefully he can get in. We're about to go green here, but I want to give a shout out to my girlfriend and her mom, who's in the ICU right now battling COVID. She actually had to go up there. She's in tough shape right now, so just really thinking about her and hope everything get better.
Bob, we'll let you get back to it, and certainly wish you and everybody the best as you guys go with that. As we're back underway, let's listen in and go iRacing full throttle. Delay he maintains at the front of the field, but it is not by much. The 8 car of Conti on the bumper. Ottinger still third, so no changes for first, second, and third. Of course, Conti losing out the fact that he had that big advantage by the time the first yellow came out, so he's going to try to keep Leahy honest and to get back around him. Alfala, the 4th car in line, but somebody who's been struggling off for the restart, Tim, the 83 of Bobby Zelensky just got passed up by Courtney Vincent. Now the 17 may be next as Keister's trying that right side of the 83 damaged, stemming from that contact we saw with the yellow.
You're going to see a lot of drivers with right-hand side damage throughout this night, Evan, as you try to run it up against the wall. But Bobby got a little more than against the wall when he was battling there with Ray a little bit earlier. The 17 tries to get that run to the inside, tries to get down there and get that run, but easier said than done, especially going in to the corner in behind Kane Cook. Looks like he has a partner to dance with the 4 of Santiago Tires as well, so keep an eye on that battle. But Bobby Zelensky, I'm sure, trying to fight that race car a little bit because it's going to handle a lot differently than it did earlier on that first green flag run. Here comes Keister again.
He's got nothing for him, and Keister goes to the bottom, pulls that slide up center of the corner, and I mean, there's no use for the 83 machine to go back down to the inside. Give it to Keister. Next on deck, the 55 of Kane Cook, and here's the onboard look with Bobby as they squeeze into 1 and 2. Not a lot of room on the outside, but the 55 of Cook pinching him up there. Tim barely clears him to stay in front at a 2. Not that Bobby ever looks too relaxed when he's driving, but he really looks locked in.
And look at that throwback to NASCAR Racing 2003 season. We kind of saw that a little bit earlier, actually, in this race with his teammate Ray Alfala running side by side with Bobby Zelensky. Now he's got the 55 of Kane Cook to the inside. Santiago Tires there as well, and the 46 of Jimmy Mullis trying to enter the top 10, trying to get a couple of more positions as well. The Conga line continues to run, and look at that. Those 2 cars look pretty similar, don't they?
Yeah, those 2, I think, both pulled the throwback off pretty good. The number 4 is Santiago Tires. The number 46 machine is Jimmy Mullis. Both of them throwing it back to that old school Coke throwback. And right now we're seeing double on track right now as they're both trying to get around Bobby Zelensky here. And Kane Cook, who just made the pass, was also saying, I don't know what the point is, Bobby. So he wasn't happy that the 83 was holding him up, but Zelensky's got every right to do everything he can to try to keep these cars behind him. But yeah, both those drivers, 1970s Bobby Allison in contact. Zelensky will spin right in front of that battle at lap 52 after it was the 2 Coke cars that came together.
Yeah, I'm sure Bobby Zelensky not going to be too happy with that one, trying to salvage what he could on that outside line, and we'll take a look at that replay in just a moment. But Zelensky goes around, and now his work is going to be definitely cut out for him as he blends into line right there with Bob Ryan.
That was Bobby Allison into Bobby Allison into Bobby Allison into Bobby Zelensky, because it looked like the 46 of Mullis was a little bit low, tagged Tires, who then kind of hooked back up the hill, got into Zelensky, and evidently the 83 machine got the worst of it because everybody else drove away. Well, Bobby backed it into the inside wall, and I think we'll see when we get a second look that Chris Overland deserves a tip of the cap because he had a great piece of driving to make sure that his number 16 Ford wasn't a part of it. Here's your second look.
Yeah, take one more look at this. Bobby Zelensky hanging out on the outside line, trying to make everything that he can happen. Santiago Tires on the inside. And take a look at the run that Jimmy Mullis is going to get here off of corner number 4 as they run down the front. And a little bit of contact there. And you mentioned Bobby into Bobby into Bobby as they come down the front straight away. Tough break for the 83. He's going to back it into the wall there and get that little bit extra damage. So they'll come down, repair that race car. We'll see what happens here on pit road. Evan, the last time we were down, we did see a lead change.
Well, let's watch as they go all the way down. It is a downhill slope as they run off to turn number 1 here at Darlington as of that front straightaway pit lane. The back no longer in use, and it is going to be wholesale exchanges. Looks like 4 tires and fuel for most. But Leahy down 3 pit stalls. There's Conti, the number 1 pit stall. That line, though, the scoring line, quite a ways away. 3 of them drag race, and it gets worse for Michael Conti. He loses another spot on pit lane. I think this time to Nick Ottinger, who leapfrogs him and goes 3rd to 2nd. So much for the number 1 stall being a gift. Tonight occurs Conti down 2 on pit lane alone. That's the only place anybody has passed him.
And we've seen that inside line not necessarily be the best place to restart, Evan, or at least trying to find your spot in the line. And now Michael Conti inside of row number 2. If everybody does come down pit road, and Keegan Leahy will assume the lead, and he'll pull it back in behind the pace car. So that should put Michael Conti inside of row number 2, and we go green.
So as we check in with this, Tim, I think you're on the radio with Bobby Zelensky.
Yeah, Bobby, how bad is this race car? Because it looked pretty crushed there when it came down the front straightaway the last time.
Yeah, we got junked pretty good in that turn 1 incident. I guess there's nothing I could have really done there, but we're going to keep trying to fix it. It sucks. I get wrecked every year here for some reason. I have a good car usually. I struggled the first run before the wreck, just being too loose, but that was easy to fix. And yeah, sucks.
Want to ask you about the throwback though, because you and your teammate got to replicate that cover for a few laps at least, right?
Right, and it sucks that he was involved in the crash. I know it wasn't his fault, but it's just funny how that works out. But yeah, man, I was looking forward to this race too. But thankfully we have a bit of a points cushion and all that, and we are. We're gonna fix this up. It's a lot to fix, but yeah, we'll fix it up.
Well, the good thing is that points cushion, I think there was 4 or 5 points you needed coming in to really lock yourself in to the playoffs. So salvage what you can. We wish you all the best here tonight, and go get what you can.
Appreciate it.
There you go, Evan. That's Bobby Zelensky. He's going to have a longer road here this evening, but still has some laps to try to figure out what he can get here.
Yeah, and a long ways to go where some of the other drivers in the field tonight could run into some issues, and maybe a perseverance could pick the 83 machine up. He's not the only one down on the pit lane trying to get that car fixed up. Casey Kerwin, somebody else down there, as they try to get those cars fixed as they ride 34th, 35th or so respectively down at the back. Meanwhile, front of the field, lights still on top of the pace cars, without going back to green flag racing quite yet, but of course now we'll see a different front row with Nick Ottinger back to a race high P2. In fact, if he can maintain, it'll be really the only laps at P2 that he gets, because it was a very quick pass to get off of the start for Leahy to get around him. But I just continue to find it interesting how the only time Michael Conti is getting past tonight is down on pit lane, and just a tough break for the 8 car. But gives him inside positioning on row 2, starting P3. So I've said a couple of times tonight already that I think that's one of the better lanes to start in. As you are assigned positions, odd numbers on the inside, even numbers on the outside road for the restarts.
And the one thing I'm seeing here, top 4 that started this race are still in those top 4 positions, albeit they might not be in the exact same position. As we look forward here, Evan, we got some changes to the schedule.
Yeah, of course, we have shuffled up the dates. After tonight, only 2 races going to be left in the regular season. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time from my backyard in the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And you thought that the NASCAR Cup Series regular season finale at Daytona was wild. Allow us to introduce a Talladega regular season finale. Then we'll know the 8 drivers who will fight for the playoffs as we go racing for round 1 at the Charlotte Roval, Kansas Speedway, and Texas Motor Speedway, all capped off November the 3rd by a winner-take-all season finale at the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. You can watch all of those races, as always, exclusively right here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. So certainly a lot to look forward to on the schedule, and a lot to look forward to still here this evening as well. Pace car down, Keegan Leahy gone. He wastes no time. Green flag back in the air, 57 laps down.
It's going to allow Michael Conti to go to the inside, try to pick up that second place position that he lost on pit road, Evan. And the 2 of Ray Alfala pokes that nose to the inside. Conti going to try to clear the 25 off of corner number 2. He'll do so.
And look at all the chaos, too wide. Again, this is really the only time we get to see wholesale dives for the move. Look at the 17 to Colin Keister, top 10 just behind that 99 of Logan Clampett, who's inside of the top 5 for the first time this evening. The move doesn't work out for Keister. He now has to stay side by side, as that was the 55 of Kane Cook ducking in line. So several drivers trying to go at it. Here's Ray Alfala all over the back of the 25 of Ottinger.
How about Kane Cook? He's had some really raw speed here the last couple of rounds, Evan, trying to get a couple of good finishes here, going towards the playoffs and trying to get a little bit closer to that top 20 in that relegation round. Kane Cook is running in the top 10 right now, from 17th up to position number 6. He's got some company behind him. He's chasing down that 99 of Clampett.
Doing everything he can to reel him in. Clampett started 11th at a race high P5. It's also a race high for Kane Cook, now +9 in P6, Justin.
Yes, indeed, and one of the drivers really trying to push so far is Colin Keister. Been told he feels confident in the speed, but just needs track position. But so far throughout the evening, it's just been the struggle of getting by drivers. When he was trying to pass Bobby Zalenski, he felt he burned up his tires a good amount when trying to make that move prior to that last caution flag. His team is trying to keep him calm on the radio throughout this run.
Well, that's the key, is all that communication. Tim, I don't know if you were able to catch it, and hopefully you at home were able to catch the latest edition of iRacing Open Mic from Daytona, where we got to listen in to all the driver radio chatter from that race, and just so much that goes on a technical side as far as strategizing, but to the point that JP made about just talking your driver through it, and even vice versa, drivers talking to teammates and so on and so forth. It's a huge aspect of this that we don't always get to hear, and glad we got that opportunity at Daytona.
And we're going to see a lot of that here this evening, especially if we continue to get into some green flag racing and get into pitch. Never mind. Caution flag is out again. I just changed it. Sorry.
Just as you said it, yellow flag is out. It is back in turn 4, so pretty far behind where all of this started. But I feel like that this may have been slightly retaliatory. You can see Brian Schoenberg is a little bit torn up. He's got one of the throwback, or not for the 79 machine, I guess you should say, but involved with a throwback car with Casey Kerwin, I believe, are the 2 culprits of this yellow, Tim. And when we get the look, I'm looking forward to your take on it, because there were about 2 or 3 different pieces of contact between these 2 cars before they actually brought out the yellow. And wherever that number 79's back bumper went, let's look.
Let's take a look at it here. The 79 of Brian Schoenberg is leading this little pack, and then gets up into the wall and gets that Darlington stripe already. The 23 comes down. Oh, the little more contact there, saves it, and they go back down the straightaway. Looks like everything's go. No, maybe not. Yep. That's definitely gonna do it. You know, Brian's had a couple of good runs here, Evan. I talked about that race back in 2018 where there was 0 cautions. He finished in the top 10 in that race. It was one of the 6 cars that remained on the lead lap. So Brian has had some good races here. This one probably not the best one.
Yeah, it went from bad to worse, slowed down, and then I don't think he appreciated Kerwin hitting him, and they kind of both turned into each other. I guess it depends on what angle you look at. I don't think Casey was happy that the 79 was that slow. He kind of pulled down alongside him on the straightaway, as Schoenberg was kind of doing the same, and the 79 ends up turning the 23, but it takes both cars out. Which is really a shame. And talking about all the different discussions on the radio, Tim, those drivers were talking to each other on the radio after the incident, but I can't repeat everything that they said to one another. No pit stops, though, for the cars up at the front of the field. So Keegan Leahy, Michael Conti, and friends decide to stay out. Only a couple of cars trickling down pit road towards the rear. And I have to think, very short into a run. These drivers just got fresh rubber about 11 laps to go. But I have to feel like that tire limit has played a factor in this, because, last season and even earlier this season, before that was added recently to the iRacing service, you did anywhere more than 5 laps and you're coming in to get tires. And you could do that because you had an unlimited number. There was no limit. And I think most importantly compared to real life is there's no price tag on the new set of tires either. So you would always get them. Now, though, with already 2 trips down pit road at least, that only leaves 3 left, and we're not even close to halfway. So I think that's why drivers may be a little bit more conservative.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. We're halfway through this race, and we've had half of our tires used for most of these guys. So you're going to have to strategize a little bit, and I think, for the most part, Evan, we've got more cautions than maybe we anticipated early in this one.
Yeah, slowing it down. I think you go back to the Tim facts when you were talking about how little yellows we've seen, and maybe you dared it because it's been a little bit of a stop-and-go race to this point early in this one. And one of those earlier incidents, Tim, involved the 90 of Zach Novak. He's still on track, and you're on the radio with him.
Well, Zach, this seems to be a theme with our in-car interviews. How bad's it tore up on the front end?
It's pretty bad. I think we're just going to have to ride around here and hope, this theme of cautions, stays this way. Normally we wouldn't want that, but, hopefully we can get some luck on our side with them and have a few other tore-up cars that we can pass by the end of this thing.
I know you've had a string of bad luck. You've had a couple of good runs, but it seems like this bad luck bug has bit you. What do you got to do to shake this thing in the remaining few races of the season?
I don't know, man. We've always kind of had that bad luck bug. Pretty much since I entered the series, it's just we've had good enough cars some weeks to, put together good enough runs and win races to where we could kind of cancel out those bad luck runs. So this week, or this year, we just really haven't had that. We've just kind of been average at best, really, on these mile-and-a-half tracks and tracks like Darlington. So it's been tough, but we're really grinding to find some speed, and I think we brought a decent car tonight. Just obviously can't really show it with the broken front end.
Well, we wish you all the best. Go get what you can.
Thanks, bud.
There you go, Evan. That is Zach Novak, our reigning track champion.
And somebody else is back there as the Let's Go on top of the pace car. Tim, I think you got a quick word as well. Casey Kerwin in that last incident.
Yeah, we'll get a quick word with Casey Kerwin. Casey, how bad's that race car? Looks a little tore up on the front end.
Yeah, it's destroyed. I screwed up earlier racing with Ray and them and got myself fenced and hurt the steering. We finally got it all fixed there, and then a guy wanted to hook a left down in the corner for 33rd and destroyed it even more. So just trying to salvage and get what we can here.
Well, there's still plenty of laps left in this race. Go get what you can, bring it to the front.
Short and to the point, Tim. You can tell that neither of those drivers having a good night.
No, it's still plenty early. So we talked about those tempers getting a little bit short. You kind of heard it there with Casey Kerwin. The sparks are going to fly a little bit more here. We're just past that quarter distance pole.
Grown man racing here at Darlington. The pace car is off it in for a 3rd consecutive time. Keegan Leahy goes early. Green flag flies. We're back at it. He'll clear for the race lead, but here's a fight for 3rd. Ray Alfala, high side, trying to get around Nick Ottinger. Now they go door to door.
Ray had the nose in there with Michael Conti, and now he's going to lose 1 to Nick Ottinger and fall back. And speaking of Conti, here comes Conti taking a little look down that back straightaway on the 32. 32 is going to get a great run in the middle of 3 and 4. Your top 4 remain your top 4, and then Evan, it's a mess. Brad Davies underneath Corey Vincent. You get the 4 Santi Tires. Looking at Ryan Lewis, and still some 2x2 racing.
It's anybody's guess back there as Lewis, you mentioned, has entered the picture, the number 53 Ford. What a weird season it's been for him, despite the fact that he comes into tonight 4th in the championship. Feels like it's been a lot rougher of a go than that. 3-time race winner, 8 top 10s in 13 starts, but when he's not the top 10, it has not been good for him. He started 21st. He now at a race high P8 behind Vincent as this all single files out for a moment. But I could have sworn Alfala had it. He actually cleared Ottinger for a split second there. The 25 car fought back at the inside to get 3rd. That was after Conti on the last restart took P2 away from him. So once again, it's the Keegan and Michael show. 1-2.
Amongst these top 4, there's been a lot of respect shown by these drivers. And looks like Kane Cook's going to make his way into position number 5. Another spot for that 55. Seems to be flying here this evening. We'll see if he has anything for these top 4, because they've occupied these 4 positions, Evan, ever since we dropped the green flag. Somebody's got to get up here and try to disrupt it, right?
Well, you think these guys are trying a little bit of sparks flying, as well as Conti was leaning on the outside wall. That Darlington stripe, I'm sure, going to be seen on a lot of these cars. But I mean, when we started this race, we were talking about the sunset. There's a good onboard look. Check it out. Lights on, sun down. Almost full nighttime conditions as that sunset is fading away in 3 and 4. And it's not just pretty to look at, Tim. That's going to affect the weather temps. It's going to bring the track temps down as well. And just like in real life, it's going to have an effect on the racing day versus night.
Yeah, that track is going to get a little bit cooler as you see the 2 of Ray Alfala chasing down those top 3. And we kind of saw it a little bit earlier on with his teammate. There is the second half of the throwback for the NASCAR Racing 2003 season cover. And Ray Alfala currently in position number 4. We've seen him on the inside line a little bit earlier on, even though that preferred groove is around that top line. Running in position number 4. Wants to get about 3 more positions and try to get this thing up in front like it is in that photo.
Yeah, Ray throwing it all the way back to Alex Bowman, right, from this week, as he was paying tribute to Jimmy Johnson with that same look this past weekend nearly at Darlington. I know a lot of those drivers had that similar, throwback look, and real cool to see that on the 2. And it was super cool because they looked just like they did on that cover, Tim, about 40 or so laps ago before they got involved in that incident. So real good stuff, as that team has been well coordinated. Team VRS for getting those 2 paint schemes alongside each other. And I had mentioned that Ryan Luza had gotten into the top 10 for the first time tonight. There's a look at the new colors on that Williams Ford, a throwback to some of their old Grand Prix cars, and that's a sporty looking 53.
Absolutely it is. Him and his teammate Matt Busa doing a great job on those throwbacks this evening. And it looks like that 53 car, you can see the throwback there, DeSena and that team, the 27 of Corey Vincent right ahead. And Corey's had a very solid run, but Ryan Luza, it seems like qualifying has been his Achilles heel this season, but racing, it's not. It's up to currently position number 8 and looking at that 27.
Doing everything he can to hunt down the 27 machine. Luza in the middle of a non-throwback sandwich with Vincent in front, Davies behind. Those cars instantly recognizable as some of the best looking paints on any given week in the Coke Series. So this trio, 8th, 9th, and 10th or so on track right now as Luza tries to maintain that number 8 spot for the time being. And you can see the focus as he almost looks perplexed at times as to what the car in front of him is doing. Maybe studied what the 27 Vincent's doing and trying to figure out how to get around it, Tim, because if we look all the way back to the start of the night, Justin on pit road told us that the big thing drivers worried about is dirty air. It would be difficult to set somebody up to make a pass in the middle of a run, and that 53 kind of parked back at about a car length of a difference. He's good. He's up 13 spots. But I think he may need Vincent to make a mistake to get a move on him. Good run, closest to the bumper, but it's going to end there.
And you still have over 100 laps to get to the end of the race. He can see the leader, albeit with that little bit of dirty air, a little bit difficult to pass. Brad Davies trying to mount a run as well. And we're seeing double again. It seems like these two have virtual magnets on them. Santi Tires in the 46 and Jimmy Mullis working their way around here.
And we saw the duo of them, but there is Santiago Tires in the 46 once more. They have survived the near incident, and there is the throwback to that car that both drivers are running, the Bobby Allison early 1970s Coca-Cola throwback. And Tim, I think a perfect throwback for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Both drivers repping their normal sponsors. Track Pass on board with Santiago Tires and at Latarte Esports Machine. But then you've got the Coke Energy colors for the 46 car of Jimmy Mullis as well. Back up, though, towards the front of the field, Michael Conti again lost 2 spots on pit road. First, it was the race lead. Then it was second. He's back to P2. And Caden Leahy got real flirty with the outside wall in 4. Nearly binned it. The gap between 1 and 2 about a half a car length. These top 3, though, I mean, throw a blanket on top of them. They pulled away from Ray Alfala in 4th on back, and I think Leahy's feeling the pressure because that car is loose.
Yeah, what used to be a 4-car battle for the lead is now a 3-car battle, and then we have a battle for position number 4, as you mentioned, with Ray Alfala leading that train around. Look at that top 3, though. They continue to work around this racetrack with Michael Conti looking. There's the 17 of Colin Keister, back to when Darrell Waltrip had those colors on that race car, and a beautiful job by that Fastenal team to get that thing on the racetrack, and looking pretty sporty here tonight. It's been in the top 10 for most of the evening.
He's been doing real good. He's been working on the inside a lot as he's paying tribute to that first win that was recorded by Darrell Waltrip back in the day. And looks good with those Fastenal colors on board. But for the moment, Keister observing as he's hanging back and watching Brad Davies and Ryan Luza do things a little bit more close quarters. But Keister down 2 from the start. I wonder if that's a little bit to do with his aggressiveness, because again, he's been on the inside a lot on the restarts, and at times that has set him back. But he is still running top 10, and it is a great showing right now for him on the racetrack. Now looking back behind that duo of the Allisons, if you would, to the number 51 car of Malik Ray. We talk about how hard it is to pass. There's another spot gained as both he and Graham Bolin are going to go on through. Not for the 51. Malik Ray is up 18 positions, throwing it back to Kyle Busch's rookie car when he was driving the 84 Chevy. Tonight, it's a number 51 Rowdy Energy Toyota. We talked about the cool connections with some drivers throwing it back to the boss man, and how about that for the JGR entry?
And looking at that 51 car, it looks relatively clean so far, and he has been making moves. You mentioned up to position number 12, and still looking for a few more spots as you ride on board with Michael Conti, trying to run down that leader and trying to take away that top spot.
You can see how thin that line is that they walk as they not only are so close to one another, but so close enough on the outside wall. And I mean, that's the only way to be fast here at Darlington. These drivers lapping in the 29.4. So for perspective, that's over 2 seconds off of their best laps from earlier in the race. So that's what about 30 lap old tires will do. And that's how it shakes out. And we talked about one of the JGR entries. Let's look at the other. How about Graham Bolin? He's always got such a good-looking Interstate Batteries Toyota any single given week, but I think they stepped it up a notch here, and check out that look.
Yeah, that's a very sharp-looking number 18 car. I think that's probably one of my favorite throwbacks of the evening. Graham Bolin throwing it back to 2003 and Bobby Labonte. He's coming through the field as well with his teammate Malik Ray, currently sitting in position number 13 and trying to track down that number 51.
I don't think the folks over at Interstate Batteries could make a bad paint scheme. That's a good-looking car, and it's looking good on the scoring pylon, up 6 as he rides at a race-high 13th position. A little bit further back, here's some drivers who we haven't talked a ton about. We checked in with Brandon Catella a little bit ago. He's in 16th position. There's other names back here like Jake Nichols and Michael Guest, but the lead car in this group is Chris Overland, the number 16 Ford, driving for Wood Brothers Racing. And you talked about all the unique throwbacks. How about throwing it back? There it is, the 47. Not only is this a cool throwback in the fact that Overland's throwing it back to a John Wood paint scheme, Tim, but Chris was talking over the week on social media that actual 47 car was the livery he was running when he won his first sim race way back when.
Yeah, that's pretty neat, and he's looking to bring this thing to the front. He has been on the move, Evan. We talked about movers and shakers, 37th up to 15th. And here's another cool throwback. Love this Jake Nichols car.
It is a great throwback. It's instantly recognizable. There's Brad Keselowski, a championship-winning car from the 2012 season, last time that they ran with the COT. But I will say, Tim, it is a beautiful car but how about the number 24 being on a Brad Keselowski paint scheme and being on a Ford Mustang? I love the throwback. You know, that's something that you could talk about, show car Hall of Fame worthy levels of craziness, but I think it's awesome.
And another driver throwing it back and kind of throwing it back to himself. That is the 97 of John Gorlinski. That was back in the day when he was first making his laps in what was the NASCAR iRacing World Championship Series, now the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and looks pretty sharp, and he's been to victory lane a couple of times. Look at that. Look at that. There's Jordan Erickson. He's been around the series a couple of times, but how about a young Tyler Hudson? How about that?
Yeah, T-Hud's had some time behind the wheel, so much so, Tim, that he actually won one of these things. Back in 2013, Tyler Hudson, a champion in this series, and now a car from that era is being considered a throwback. I wonder how the head steward of the Coke Series feels about that one. T-Hud, I'm sure, listed in and is appreciating that one, certainly. But real cool. I mentioned that they're not all just throwbacks to Cup Series paints. We've seen some from other forms of racing and even some sim racing throwbacks.
I guess somebody's going to have to throw it back to Tyler Hudson, I guess, now. I think we just
next.
started something,
That's all
right?
that's left, yeah.
I think we started something here tonight, but Michael Conti in position number 2. He was on the attack. He was on the challenge, trying to get that lead from Keegan Leahy. Now I think he's kind of relinquished that just a little bit. Kind of keep him in sight, about 2 car lengths, 3 car lengths or so in between your top 2. Battle for 4th is kind of quiet down a little bit as well as we throw it down pit road to Justin Prince.
Already a couple different drivers having different sequences here right now, guys. These top 3 drivers have different strategy plays and different types of handlings, but all of them said the same consistency. That all of these drivers feel like their car has been getting better and better throughout the race. But for Leahy, he's been trying to balance the top line. It's a line he did not test in preparation for tonight's race as he was in the middle of a move. For Conti, they're talking about potential tire pressure adjustments to try and counter Leahy. And for Oninger, he's been reporting wheel shattering from the left rear. So a few issues on the drivers up at the front. It's going to get interesting to see how the strategy plays out, guys.
And if this thing stays green, we're about 42 laps into this run, 88 laps to go. So I think that would make it plausible for the one stopper, but it would be right inside. Here's the other throwback, talking about the Wood brothers. How about the number 21 machine of Garrett Lowe, Tim, and keeping it within the team as well, as he's throwing it back to the 2006 look, I think, as a yellow flag is out. The good news is for Garrett Lowe, he's not the one involved, but somebody's off track, and we'll find it.
It happened a couple of spots up the road. Brandon Cattell was running in position number 18 at the time when he went around, and a little bit of damage to the back end of that Clint Boyer throwback, but he gets it going again. Everything else looks relatively clean except for that rear end, as the yellow flag will fly once again with 87 to go.
Well, Nathan Lyon just said over the radio, sorry for getting you, but you slammed the brakes. So let's see. Well, there's the 6 car tucked in line behind. This is in turn number 2. And he kind of just drove right through him, Tim. Taking a look at the speed on Brandon Cattell, he obviously didn't think he was going to make the corner because he dropped about 5 miles an hour real quick. No time for the 6 to react. Lyon goes right through him. 14 cars around. We are back under the caution flag. This time, though, with enough laps in and kind of just as I mentioned, inside of the fuel window to go for the one stopper after this, that everybody's going to be down pit road. But now outside of the window with 87 laps to go. Pit road has been the kryptonite for Michael Conti. Can he turn those fortunes as Leahy leads them down?
Those top 4 have continued to be the top 4 that we started with, and top 4 we continue to run with. We'll see if it shakes up here as those top 4 in those first 4 stalls on pit road.
Right side's up first, left's going to go up as well, and then you see the green cone, top right corner of your screen. That is where they need to get to, so it's not an immediate benefit for Michael Conti, and this time no changes. 1, 2, 3, and Ray Alfala barely maintained 4th. And we have a new race leader for a moment. At the front of the field, Bob Bryant opting not to pit. He was running in 31st position. It is a pretty beat-up Xerox by Valvoline Toyota. So I'm not sure if the decision, Tim, is going to be to stay out, or just snag a bonus point, but at least for the moment, he is your new race leader as you've got Nathan Lyon on the radio.
Well, Nathan, what happened there in that little incident to bring up the caution flag?
Yeah, I hate that I got into Brandon. Definitely wasn't trying to. Just running about 75, 60 throttle, somewhere around there. We were quicker than him at that point. And I was riding his bumper and it looked like he got on the brakes or checked up a little bit, and I couldn't jump on it quick enough to not hit him.
Kind of riding around in the middle of the hornet's nest about mid-pack. Track position seems to be key here. What do you have to do to get yourself towards the front of the field?
Well, I don't need to wreck any more cars, so I need to just chill on that. But I think definitely watching these restarts, I've given up some spots just to be safe, and it's kind of proven effective. Each restart, there's been cars getting into each other back here, so just kind of keep it clean. Not trying to get into any more cars.
And the throwback looks pretty sporty here tonight as well. Good job on that. We wish you all the best. Bring that thing to the front.
Thanks.
Well, there you go, Evan. That number 6 car of Nathan Lyon. Middle of the pack right now. Still got plenty of laps to go, though we are in the second half of this race.
Yeah, finally to halfway and through, Bob Bryant will give up the race lead, so it will go back to Keegan Leahy, and there will be no major changes at the front, but this time by 100 laps complete from Darlington, leaving us with 84 laps to go. So we've seen all of the chaos and calamity that happened in the first half. Certainly plausible to think that we have an even serving up for the second half of this race as well. And keeping with the trend of talking to some of the drivers, Tim on the radio with Brandon Cattell, who's on pit road.
Well, let's talk to Brandon, the opposite end of that yellow flag that just came out. Brandon, what did you see?
We were struggling a little bit there. We were tight, but honestly, I just think Nathan kind of drove through the back of us there off of 2. He could have been a little bit more patient. I was a little bit slower. I was going to let him buy into 3 and 4, but he just kind of got us there and sent us to the wall.
Sitting down there on pit road, how bad is this race car?
We have 50 seconds of damage. We hit in the front end, so we're going to have to worry about temps for the rest of the race, but it's still salvageable. Hopefully we can get some crazy restarts and kind of get us some spots here at the end.
I was going to say, get some spots at the end. What's the strategy going forward here? We anticipate a few more caution flags, because this race is usually a clean race at Darlington. We going to see a couple more of these, or are these guys going to calm down a little bit?
Oh, you're gonna see a lot of crazy stuff here in the last 80 laps or so. So better stay tuned.
Well, we wish you all the best. Go get what you can into this.
Yep.
Well, there's Brandon Cattell, and he said he hit the nail on the head, Evan. I don't think the wild is over yet. We're at 1, 2, 5 cautions so far tonight.
Yeah, and it's added up. I was just looking back to our stats from 2019, and the unsurprising part, as we talked about earlier, was 6 yellows for 26 laps of pacing. That's been about the norm. But just the complexion of the race. And Bob Bryant is going to be counted as the new race leader. That's different as we take a look at the throwback on Eric J. Smith, the number 9 of machine. That's the Bill Elliott 1987 throwback, as Eric Smith will get set to restart this in 23rd, Tim. But last year's race here had 11 different leaders for 14 lead changes. Tonight it has been locked down by that handful of cars up at the front of the field, and Keegan Leahy can look to continue that on this restart. The race car going to dive down and in this time, and as he has every time, he goes right away, and he'll lead out of 4 as we go back underway. Fight could be for second. They'll watch Ottinger on the inside. Conti going to go down to throw a block.
And keep an eye on Kane Cook here in the 55 car, trying to upset this top 4 and break in to what has been a virtual locked top 4 in the first half of this event. They get single file. Michael Conti, Nick Ottinger, and Ray Alfala behind your leader, Keegan Leahy, as we work down. Oh, Graham Bolin's around in the middle of the field.
Spinner and a yellow caution flag back out in the rear. Everybody scattering it to try to avoid that one, and you can see now Graham Bolin coming back through the field after he had a touch with the 17 of Colin Keister. We'll have to get a second look to kind of get a good view of what happened here. Again, there was a lot of side-by-side because we were just off of a restart. and I didn't really see how it all started, but I think it might have just been one of those cases, Tim, of a checkup, but the Bobby Allison duo was involved, so it's not a good night in any case for Mullis and Tires, even though none of those drivers were kind of where this incident started.
Take a look at the Coca-Cola replay here. The 18 of Graham Bolin going to be the one that goes around. Jimmy Mullis in behind and Colin Keister right ahead, and Keister gets into the wall a little sideways, and there's that little bit of contact. Jimmy Mullis going to probably sport a little bit of damage on the front of that race car, but that could have been a lot bigger than it was where it happened around that 10th place position.
Yeah, we're pretty fortunate how quick off of the restart it was, that it was not a huge mess. Again, a lot of drivers ended up just scattering. That's the one benefit of having that huge apron here at Darlington, is you can kind of get down there in the center of the corners and try to avoid incidents. And I think it kept the mess a little bit smaller than what it could have been. And again, your race leaders having just pitted, not going to come down for service. So one of the drivers who is on the pit lane is looking for damage repaired. It's the 18 Interstate Batteries Toyota of Graham Bolin, Tim.
Well, Graham, walk us through that wreck. What did you see going into that corner?
There's a big stack. I tried to go like middle, and I guess Colin kind of hit the wall and came down a little bit, and then I got turned around and I just locked it down after that. So it's unfortunate, but we'll try to get the damage repaired and back out to get the best finish possible.
The see we rolling off pit road. How bad is that race car?
It's kind of killed. It's not that bad though.
Let's look at this points. Look at the points picture as well. You got a little bit of a hole to climb out of tonight. One spot out coming in. How does this affect your game plan for the rest of the night?
It kind of kills our plan, to be honest. We were planning on splitting that last run, but now we're just trying to gain spots while people wrecking because we're killed. But other than that, we had a good race so far. Had some bad luck with pit strategy, and track position is really big here. So other than that, it's been pretty good.
Well, it's a sharp-looking throwback. We wish you all the best. Go get what you can.
All right, thank you.
There you go, Evan. Graham Bolin on that bubble position when it comes to the points, trying to get up there and get into that top 8. He's got a long road to hoe to get there, though.
Yeah, that's the theme with everybody we've been talking to, is they're still counting on the fact that there's a good amount of laps left to get some more out of it. And somebody else who wants to get more out of this it's a car that's now looking a little bit worse for wear, Tim, but we've seen it a lot on track. Let's talk with him now. It's Jimmy Mullis.
Yeah, Jimmy Mullis, a little bit of damage to the front end. How bad's this race car?
We've only got 35 seconds of damage, so I think we're going to be able to keep on going and hopefully get some track position back and see what we can do here.
How difficult is it going to be? Because it seems like passing is a premium. It looks like a couple of restarts, you're able to get a couple of positions, but how hard is it to pass here?
It's extremely difficult. A lot of people, a lot of us in the field are really close on pace here tonight, so that makes it super difficult. And just, the way that 1 and 2 is, we're full throttle through there. So the passing spots 3 and 4, and you're basically just sitting there hoping somebody makes a mistake. And like I said, just going to see what I can do here and try to pick them off as we go.
Beautiful looking throwback here with this Coca-Cola Energy ride, but you and Santiago Tires kind of have the same throwback. Is there any sort of rivalry to try to get up here and try to be the best Bobby Allison car?
I definitely want to be the best one. I know we kind of got together a little bit earlier in the race. I feel bad for that because I think that was on me. But, we both have really good-looking cars here tonight, so hopefully we can do something with them before it's all over.
We wish you all the best the rest of the way. Go get them.
Thanks, buddy.
That's Jimmy Mullis, driver of the number 46. Beautiful-looking race car, and he's got some work to do, Evan, coming from the back of the field there, trying to pick up some more spots.
And you talk about the colorful throwbacks. This is a cool one as we take a look with Chris Shearburn, because not only is this just a good-looking throwback as is to a 1995 Derek Cope look, but I mean, they got the same sponsor, Tim. On the hood, Mane and Tail has been on that car all season long for a lot of the races, and that is the same sponsor that was on that Cope car back in '95. So that is an exact replica, one of the very 90s-looking paints that you've got in the field tonight. You can't miss it.
And he's right in that Hornet's nest, right in the middle of the field, currently positioned number 23. So he's going to have to get those ponies marching towards the front of the field. and try to get another good run, because we've seen some great speed out of Chris Shearburn this season, and he's in that fight for a playoff position. 3 races to go. He's got a shot at making that top 8.
That's the goal, is to get there by the end of this. And here's a real unique one. We saw a lot of it up at the front of the field. The number 23 machine running in the back now. But Casey Kerwin, we've talked all along about how he had that Jordan brand sponsorship this year, throwing it back to a Chicago Bulls uniform look. You can see it down there on the bottom, of course, the number 23 on the door. That is not by mistake. Good looking ride. It was earlier. He wants to salvage the second half of his race. Pace car on down. We're back underway as Leahy brings us to it. A lot of contact back in the pack as Blake Reynolds got tagged. He goes all the way to the back. No yellow. We stay green after contact with Mullis. And up front, the duo goes at it once more. Conti on the bumper of Leahy. He's done a good job of maintaining P2 since he got back to that, but he has not been able to get back around the 32 since Leahy took that spot away on pit road, Tim. A lot of action through the field, but no passes for the race lead tonight under green.
We had that little exchange for position number 5, though, with Logan Clampitt going past Kane Cook to pick up that position. So one little change at least, and Logan Clampitt looks like he's up on the wheel. Here's Michael Conti running down. Keegan Leahy trying to take the lead.
And it's so tricky as you're on board with him, because you heard it there chatting with some of the drivers under the yellow, that at 1 and 2, they're full throttle. So 3 and 4 is really where you want to make the moves. And talking about the 99 of Logan Clampitt making the moves at a race high now P5, there is his throwback, his car right-hand side of your screen, the 1997 Mark Martin throwback, Tim, and another one of those throwbacks where the sponsor on the old car, the sponsor on the sim car, all season long. Valvoline, a good partner for the folks over at Burton Kligerman Esports.
And that's Michael Conti over his shoulder. So not a bad run so far for the room. Running in position number 2 and running in position number 5. So top 5 efforts for both Logan Clampitt and Michael Conti. And there's the other half of the room right there. So Michael Conti is focused. Logan Clampitt as well. Focused on getting a top 5 run at least. And Conti, you can see that laser focus. He's looking for the lead.
Conti second, Clampitt fifth for the new roommates. I think it's about the second or third week of Coke Series action in which they've been running together after Clampitt made the trip west to east to move out to North Carolina and rooming up with the past series champion. And Michael Conti got to be a pretty good setup that they have in that room. And, you know, we talk about drivers with past championships. Ray Alfala, after not making the playoffs last season, seeming poised to do so this year. And he is the bubble driver into this evening, 8th in points, but has never left the top 5 this evening. Very smooth and consistent in that VRS number 2 Chevrolet. And again, at this point, I think just trying to maintain, as I thought Ottinger for a moment was thinking about trying to challenge with Conti, unable to do so. And just one step back in the running order, Kane Cook. Tim, you shouted him out about how he had been doing a good job of working his way through the field to get into a top 10 position, and that is a look 2014 to 15, a sim racing throwback.
Yeah, that's to a sim racing buddy, Lucas Huffman, and looks like a pretty sharp looking scheme and doing it proud right now. He's been hanging out in the top 10 for most of the night, started in 17th, worked his way quickly up into that top 10, has been as high as position number 5, but hasn't been able to crack that top 4. He currently runs in 6s. There's the battle from the lead on back. Keegan Leahy sees a whole lot of WR1 sim chassis in behind.
And it just seems like, and I think that the biggest thing I took away talking, I think it was with Mullis there under the yellow, Tim, or whoever had said it to you, the fact that the margin between the cars is so thin. I mean, that's nothing new for us. We know that, you know, the difference first to last in this series is not a ton. I mean, just looking at qualifying, for an example, the very best time at qualifying to the 28th time at qualifying was 0.4 of a second difference. It's not a lot, so it's so hard for these cars to make moves under green. As we look a little bit further back down the running order to the number 15 machine of Michael Gorilla. We chatted with him early. He gave us the lap around. Tim, he's been doing a good job of moving through the field from 33rd up to position number 24. And there's his look at Ted Musgrave, 1999, I believe.
Yeah, love me some Ted Musgrave, as you saw that, and right on board now with the 21 of Garrett Lowe. Seeing some different looks throughout this race, and Garrett's got his hands completely full right now as he tries to march his way towards front, currently 17th.
Well, Garrett Lowe, we talk about playoff drivers who have been good tonight, and Garrett Lowe has kind of been my standout driver from this year. He's the highest driver in the points without a win, trailing Zelensky and Leahy in the points, who both have 3 trips to victory lane. He sits third. 6 top 5s, 7 top 10s this year for Wood Brothers Racing, and it has been a great season for him, but maybe a Darlington to forget. If this thing doesn't come around, P17 not awful. He's got a pretty healthy cushion to the bubble, so that's not a concern headed into 2 weeks to go. But he's not going to lock anything up here this evening like we may see some of the top drivers in the points do come the checkered flag.
And looking at that battle for the lead once again, Michael Conti trying to track down Keegan Leahy. Top 4 still haven't changed, but Logan Clampett is trying to get up there and have something for Ray Alfala as we keep an eye on that number 8 car.
And looking back once more, how about Zach Novak, the number 90 machine, throwing it back. That's him up top, and the throwback car down on the bottom of your screen. And Sudoku has gone through a couple of different looks over the years, and there was his throwback. And then also with that number 3 machine just up the road, Blake Reynolds throwing it back to the 1998 Japan special for Dale Earnhardt when NASCAR ran an exhibition race over there. So Coca-Cola on board, that number 3 normally, and on board with the throwback here this evening. So real cool to see both of those drivers with their usual sponsors on board, throwing it back to themselves. And of course, you can't really get much more history in the sport of NASCAR, Tim, than Coca-Cola and Sudoku. So great to have both of them a part of this series, and real cool looks on both of those cars.
And both of those race cars are sharp-looking paint schemes, but they're simple. There's not a whole lot going on, but they look phenomenal. So great job to both of those teams with those throwbacks here this evening. Battle for the lead continues on as Keegan Leahy has Michael Conti and Nick Ottinger at bay. You kind of gapped those guys back there by a couple of car lengths, and there's another one. There is back to William Byron's championship year. Nick Ottinger doing a great job up here, trying to get a win for the boss man, currently in 3rd.
And I think this may be the youngest throwback to 2017. It feels like that was probably 20 years ago at this rate, but it wasn't. And of course, a champion in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and of course, most recently, a winner in the NASCAR Cup Series. That heads up William Byron Esports. Real cool to be able to throw that one back to the boss man. And again, one of those instantly recognizable looks from the modern era. Looks real good on a Camaro.
You see that battle up in front. Michael Conti's closed the gap by another car length. It's about a half car length now in between those two. Keegan Leahy kind of didn't get off turn 2 the way he wanted to the last time, at least by the looks of it. But the 8 of Michael Conti waiting to have something happen as he goes to the insider links. Took a look there.
Yeah, he tried, and I mean, we've seen several instances where you tried, but it just hasn't happened, and we'll monitor that battle as it continues on. Here's another look. Bob Bryant involved in an incident earlier in this race back in 33rd, but there's the throwback on the bottom to Alan Kowicki in the Xerox entry. The 7, now the 77 in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And I mentioned this earlier, we're hoping using the hashtag eNASCAR all night long like you are any night, but let us know, of all these throwbacks, what are your favorites? What would you like to see some of these drivers run next year? Use the hashtag eNASCAR throwback and be a part of the conversation as we pick up the fight between Alfala and Clampett for 4th and 5th. The 99 looking, but he doesn't pull the trigger.
He's taking a look. In behind them, Brad Davies is also taking a look at Kane Cook. This is about the time in the run where some of these drivers really start to feel out their race cars. Some come to them and some fall off just a little bit, but Logan Clampett has been solid since we dropped the green flag the last time. Just past lap 104 was the last caution flag that we had. So Logan looking pretty good here in the second half.
He is, and some of the best looking at those throwbacks up in this battle. That was a look at 28 of the throwbacks in the field here tonight. All of the drivers that gave us reference photos to see what they were throwing it back to, and it's been so good to see them tweeting out pictures and teasers and promotional videos of these on social media over the course of the week. So that is super cool. Like I mentioned, it's a NASCAR tradition, and now I think it is safely an eNASCAR tradition. Already looking forward to our virtual Southern 250 next year, and can't wait to see what all the drivers will be throwing it back to when that race comes around. As the 99 tries, resets, and wants to go at it again, the top three pulling away just a little bit from this gaggle, fourth on back. Alfala, Clampett, Cook, Davies, all within about a half a second of one another. At the point now as we go with our Coca-Cola on board, Michael Guest. This time by 52 laps to go from Darlington. They're all chasing Keegan Leahy. As we step aside for the final time, you're watching the iRacing Esports Network.
For those living together and those living apart. For classmates, graduates, and teachers making the best of it. For the restaurants delivering to our doorsteps. For the frontline workers putting it on the line every single day. For this great nation determined to be stronger on the other side. Thanks to all of you, we'll be together again.
And back live for the virtual Darlington Raceway coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And by Asus, an official gaming hardware partner of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. We have a caution at 1:37 just as we come back, and the 2 of Ray Alfala is around. He had been running oh so steady inside of the top 4 for the longest time, but you saw it there on the side-by-side. Clampett was finally able to get around him, and it opened up the floodgates. Kane Cook also with a pass, and it was the third attempt for the 88 machine at Davies and then Lusa, Tim, that flipped this one upside down, and we will have a restart inside of the final 50. Here's a look.
Yeah, let's take a look at this one here. The 88 of Davies underneath the 2 of Ray Alfalo. The next one in line is Ryan Lusa in the 53. And little bit of contact there between the 2 and the 53. And sends the 2 car around. Ray does a great job keeping it out of the wall and out of everybody else. But speaking of everybody else, they're down on pit road. And Evan, this could very well be the final time we see them.
If they are inside of the window for fuel, they have gone, with 46 laps to go on the board, they've gone that distance before on tires, so that's not going to be a concern. Well short enough. The only time we may see drivers back down is with a late race yellow. But if it all goes according to plan, this is the last trip down. And again, the only passes for the race lead we've seen have happened under yellow. So can they all execute? Right sides up. Right side's down. They'll go over to the left. Going to be 4 tires and fuel. It looks like Keegan Leahy going to come from the left of your screen. He will win the race off of pit road. Yes, nearly losing. Second was Conti, but he stays in front of Ottinger, and Logan clamp it up to P4 ahead of Kane Cook.
Yeah, Logan Clampett's been coming to the front of the field, as has Kane Cook, been hanging out around the top 5 all night long, so this should set up for an interesting restart. See if anybody has anything for those top 3. But I think we still got a set of tires in the pits, don't we, Evan? So if we do see, a 20 or a 25 lap run, I think these guys come back down again for tires to set up for a final run.
Yeah, my timing is showing to me that the top 16 drivers have only made 4 trips down to the pit lane. Presumably, that's all been for service, so they should all have 1 set of tires left. A couple of exceptions with some of the drivers who have been down the pit lane multiple times over the course of the night being involved in some of the incidents. Well, you just saw the replay and the incident involving the number 2 machine of Ray Alfalo. Tim, you're with him on the radio. It had been such a good night to that point.
Yeah, it was going so well for so long for Ray Alfalo. Ray, what happened there in that battle?
Yeah, we just lost the handle there for a second, got too loose, and we're just kind of dropping back there. And Brian went for the hole, and we just got together off turn 2. So, it happens. I wish we weren't in the way like that there, but we kind of lost the handle. But we'll see. We're not where we want to be late in the race, but we'll try to keep it clean from here.
Yeah, the car looks clean. Was there any damage when you came down to pit road?
No damage. We just got to survive. Let's hope we don't flip like last year.
Well, look at the guy in front of you. At least the throwbacks are running right next to each other now. You can replicate that cover again, right?
Yeah, we replicated it in turn 1 when we both wrecked earlier in the race, so that wasn't great. Has not been a great night for VRS, but we're both still in the race, so, it could be worse.
Well, we wish you all the best. You still got some laps to work. Go get it done.
Thanks, guys. It's going to be a show.
There's Ray Alfalo with the teammate right in front of him, Evan. They're going to start from about 25th, 26th or so.
So as we pace, we're going to talk about this when we came back. Of course, the yellow jumped in and had to cover that. But want to remind you that as Keegan Leahy looks to be a winner tonight, you could walk away a winner as well by entering the Round 14 Darlington Giveaway with our friends at Asus. You could win a 1-year iRacing membership and a handful of Strix gear, including a TKL Electropunk keyboard, an Impact 2 mouse, and a Go 2.4 headset. So if your gaming setup is looking for some color, that Electropunk pink will certainly do it for you. You can enter that giveaway by going to the Asus Twitter account. That's at ASUS_ROGNA. Just look for their tweet about today's giveaway. Click on the link and you can enter and also walk away a winner tonight from Darlington. That's going to be valid through the rest of this race. Started the night talking about playoff points. Now let's talk live points. There's an updated look at the bubble, Tim, and not a whole lot of movement. Ray Alfalo's advantage was 15 into the night, and well, even though it has been a little bit rough for him thus far, still doing okay. Points showing a 23-point advantage to Davies and some of the other drivers, so not a ton of movement. Again, that's the benefit of having a bigger gap coming into this evening. Granted, even if it comes down just a little bit, with 2 weeks left to go after this, you're going to start to sweat a little bit more and more as this works on. Lights out on top of the pace car. Restart coming up right here, right now, and it could be the last one of this race. Leahy has been untouchable. There's your updated look now. It's actually a 9-point difference, Tim. So Ray losing a little bit. Davies creeping closer. The 88 car is in P6. Davies is right there.
And you look at some drivers that have had some bad luck tonight. Graham Bolin has rebounded. Jimmy Mullis trying to get up there. And keep in mind, the magic number is 90 to lock in. So those top two near the top, they need a 90-point gap exiting this evening. They're close. Keegan Leahy is leading. He's doing what he needs to do. Bobby Zielinski, he's got some points to make up here.
He does. 90 means that they are locked in. So far, nobody is clinched a playoff berth in 2020. Pace car off. Leahy gone again. Wasting no time. Restart after restart. He'll lead to one. The fight for third, short-lived. Clamp it. Can't make it on the outside, and Davies is sideways. 3 wide in the center of 1 and 2 as they all start to stack up, and somehow Brad Davies saves it as he nearly was in the fence.
It started up here with Kane Cook getting sideways, and now he battles side by side with Ryan Luza. Great battle off this restart between those two for one is position number 5. Give it to Kane Cook. Ryan Luza falls back in behind.
We just talked about him making up points. It would have been right on brand with the commentator's curse for him to immediately have had an issue, and the gap to Ray Alfala no longer going to be just 9, probably closer to what it was entering this evening because Davies lost about 4 or 5 spots in that exchange alone. Big positive, though, the car's still on track. That was Conti looking to the inside on the front straightaway. Maybe seeing if he could convince the 32 Leahy that he was going. Again, we haven't seen him throw it in yet. Does he try now? A run on the back straightaway, but stays on the bumper. It is the big 3 tonight. Leahy, Conti, Ottinger, but with Alfalo wrecking out in the most recent yellow, Tim, how about an opportunity for Logan Clampett P4? Highest he's been all night to get something going as we take a second look, and there's the contact with Kane Cook. Saves it. Malik Ray into Davies. Also, a great job keeping that car straight.
Could have been a lot bigger than it was. Great job by Kane Cook. Great job by Brad Davies to keep it out of harm's way, at least for the most part. Brad Davies has some spots to make up now. Kane Cook still sitting there. Look at that battle. Michael Conti continues to flash the nose. That's all it's been doing right now, or at least the last 80 laps or so, with Michael Conti going to the inside, trying to make that move, trying to get there, but he hasn't been able to get that run. Nick Ottinger in behind in position number 3. He's got a front row seat to it.
He's got a great look, and again, this is the end of the racetrack where you can hear them working that throttle a little bit more, whereas in 1 and 2, as some of those drivers had described, you're more so basically just full throttle down at this end of the racetrack. They enter the corner at about 178 miles an hour. They only drop about 3 to the center. I mean, it is crazy fast center corner speed as Brad Davies makes a pass in the 16 to Chris Oberlin. So he'll go back to P11, and the driver stuck at a line right now is the 10 Justin Bolton, dropping backwards on the inside line.
It's a great battle back here, and some of these drivers need to go. There's Justin Bolton on the relegation standings. That top 20 will make it into the series for next season. Everybody on the outside looking in will have to go through the pro division in the off season to try to make it happen. And you see that 90 is Zach Novak. He's had some tough luck this evening, as is John Gorlinski. Christian Chalner trying to get up there in the battle, and Justin Bolton has some work to do. And here's Ray Alfalo working his way back up to the front.
Not like he was clutching that time for the number 2 machine. He went all the way back. Again, the key was, though, even though he spun, he didn't actually wreck the race car. So it's still in one piece. The car's in front of him trying to wreck. That was Michael Guerrillas, 15, leaning on Justin Bolton. And now more contact with Dylan Duvall. Ray seeing this out of the windshield as he's trying to get around all these drivers, but it's sketchy hours at lap 150 as now Guerrilla tucks in line. Alfalo going to go for the crossover. Not a whole lot of give right now.
We mentioned the dirty air earlier in this race when we talked to Justin Prince, but Ray Alfalo's been able to make up some ground. He started 26 on this restart up to position number 19. There's that number 3. of Blake Reynolds. And again, in middle of the pack, battling side by side with the 9 of Eric Smith. Christian Chalner mentioned him on the opposite side of that bubble battle or the relegation battle. You ride on board with him. He's trying to get a run and make up a couple spots.
Doing his best. It's been a quiet night so far for Challenger, down 4 from the start. And back here with a lot of drivers that have had some trouble. You can see the right front damage on Challenger. Maybe that's been affecting him, but I mean, Reynolds in an incident, Zelensky, Cattell, all the drivers that he's running around have had some attrition tonight. Those are the kind of drivers that you need to be able to capitalize on and steal these spots and these points away from. As up the road, it's an issue with Michael Guest. He is way off pace as he caught the fence in turn number 4. That was trying to hold off the number 4 machine, and I think he may have had some help after Guest got tagged by Tires and rode the fence all the way through turns 3 and 4. No yellow, but that's about a dozen spots lost as now Zelensky tries to get around him, but Guest has got his pace back.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the replay on the right-hand side box, and this might be a little more than a Darlington stripe as before. Tires gets into him, and right there, that's a hard lick into the wall, and again, into the wall off of corner number 4. So he's got some work to do to try to manhandle and muscle that race car to what he can salvage here as we work lap number 154.
You can see Challenger looking to the inside, and it looks like the 3's not going to put up a fight there. So as you step away from that, Challenger will take that. That was way back for position 20. It's on 7 seconds off of the battle for the race lead, which is a stalemate, a Cold War, whatever kind of analogy you want to use, Tim, because we have not seen at any point, minus that very first run, when a battle for second allowed Michael Conti to get away briefly for a 1-second lead before a yellow came out. Since then, we haven't seen the race leader get more than 5 car lengths ahead of the car behind him, and just so evenly matched that you have to think the only way that this changes hands is with a mistake or some sort of late race drama, per se a late yellow, with 28 laps to go.
And we might very well see that because these guys on the right-hand side are almost kind of working on it a little bit. Battling for position number 17, though, Ray Alfala trying to get by Michael Guerrilla. Guerrilla has worked his way up the road. We mentioned he started 33rd. Ray Alfala on the last restart started in 26th, and now he's looking at position number 17. Ray doing a great job, even with the dirty air and it being difficult to pass. The champ is trying to get up here and make one more spot.
The battle's left-hand side, the battle's right-hand side. And again, especially with Davies getting into that near incident, Ray can try to build back up on his points advantage for the difference for 8th and 9th in the championship. Of course, Bolin and Mullis were 9-10 coming into this race, but both of those drivers have had their moments, and that has opened up the door for Brad Davies and Corey Vincent, for a matter of fact, in 9th to really stand to benefit and put themselves in a good spot towards that bubble as we head to Las Vegas Motor Speedway in 2 weeks' time for the second to last race of the regular season. That's the look off of the back end of Nick Ottinger, who rides in 3rd. You can see those top 3 pulling away a little bit from Logan Clampett, trying to make it a 3-car race.
And you look at these top 3 back to that gap to position number 4, and even the gap from 4th to position number 5 back to Kane Cook. There's a little bit of a gap to stop. It's about a half second or so from Ottinger back to Logan Clampett, and then about another 0.6 of a second back to Kane Cook. So they've established themselves a good little gap, Evan, but you look far off the back of this William Byron eSports car. Around that 20th place is really where it starts to get a little bit dicey, where these drivers are trying to battle and pick up some positions. For the most part, in the top 20, these guys are single file and found a place to race.
And with a bit of a gap, maybe an opportunity to do so, to try some different things. Here's Colin Keister, who has had a great night. He's ahead of Malik Ray, so how about a tale of 2 different races? Colin Keister started 8th, he rides in 7th, that is +1. Malik Ray started way back in 30th position. He is +22, and that only makes him the 2nd biggest mover. I know Malik Ray has been putting in a lot of practice. A lot of these drivers run the A-Open races or official stop for the iRacing service to get some practice in. Malik Ray won a league race last night in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series on the sim. But again, plus 22, only second best, Tim, Chris Overland. How about 37th to 12th for plus 25? He's a little bit back in this group.
And you take a look at those live points as they run, and you see a couple of more names down there, a couple more numbers, I should say, down there. You look at the 55 of Kane Cook, his great run is gaining him some points. You look at Bobby Zielinski, he's at 79 points up on that bubble. The 32 of Keegan Leahy, 78 points up, so they've got some insurance, they've got some cushion. Then you look back to Michael Conti, 39 points up. Evan might seem safe, but Talladega is the cutoff race, so you want to gain as much as you can here and gain a little bit more at Las Vegas before we get to Talladega Super Speedway in a couple of races.
Yeah, and we mentioned 90 is the number. That's because there's 2 races left. You can lose and or gain 45 points in any given race. That is your concern. And we talked about this headed into Daytona, that of those last 4 races on the regular season, 2 of them were super speedways. 1 of them was Darlington. The only quote-unquote safe bet you have is the intermediate in Las Vegas. You go there, you get points that you probably figure you deserve, and then you hope that you are 45 points above whatever cut you're racing against, whether it's the playoff relegation for the top 8 or the relegation for the championship, the top 20. Hope you're above 45, because who knows what can happen at Talladega. That is going to be something where those live points that we look at is going to change lap by lap by lap, and it'll certainly be fun to watch as this season comes to a close and we get set for the postseason, getting kicked off now in just a couple of weeks. But Keister wants one more to the inside of Velosa. I'm not sure this is going to pay off, so we go on board with Malik Ray. He'll go on the outside past, and he'll make the move to move Malik Ray up another to P7. Keister drops for a moment to P8. And if you're enjoying the action, Tim, if you want a Sim Race Cup cars at Darlington or anything else that iRacing offers, and I know that there was a brand new build coming out with a ton of new content, now's the time to do it. Go to iRacing.com today, because with iRacing, every day is race day. It is 50% off all new memberships.
50% off. I love me a good sale. You talked about the content, the fairgrounds coming out here from Nashville. I'm excited to run that racetrack. I haven't done a whole lot of sim racing here. Been busy with some of the real world stuff, but I'm excited to hook up the wheel in a little bit here, Evan, and do some racing at Nashville.
I'm going to be racing there. You got new cars coming, not just on the oval side, but a lot of road content coming as well. Brand new Corvette coming to the iRacing service. If you're a fan of the off-road trucks, Crandon is coming to iRacing. This is the pinnacle of sim racing right here. This eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. But iRacing offers something for everybody, and even these drivers who are in the pro level of oval racing like to dabble in a lot of the other stuff that iRacing has to offer. So again, iRacing.com for more information on how you can get your sim racing career started today. That's the difference. Off of the back of Keegan Leahy, it is growing. 3/10 may not sound like a lot, but here at Darlington, that might as well be a country mile, because that's the most in control it seemed as we pick up a fight between Corey Vincent and Jake Nichols for 10.
Last time we spoke about Jake Nichols, he was running around the top 20 or so, and now he's trying to burst his way into the top 10. This is the battle for that final 10th place position here, as the 27 of Corey Vincent trying to hold off that 24. Great little battle here coming towards the end of this race. Jake Nichols trying to find a way to the inside.
Doing whatever he can to get one more spot, as this race now inside of 15 laps to go. To put the Larry Mack hat on, if I would, Tim, the trends tonight would suggest that our average green flag run has been a little bit less than that, so there's still a chance that this thing does not run out to the end. But of course, if not, these drivers pushing like it will. Now 14 laps to go. They're going to knock off quickly here, as Nichols is putting the pressure on Vincent.
Yeah, we've had a couple of 20 to 30 green flag lap runs, but Justin Prince, what are you feeling here, buddy? Are we going to get another caution?
There is the potential, but many of the drivers have decided to essentially ride. Ottinger getting a little bit too free from the P3 right now, content on where he's at right now. The interesting storyline is Malik Ray, because the team feels he's fast, he's confident, but the main goal is salvaging points for the championship. He's up 24 positions as talked about. Many of the other drivers just waiting patiently for the checker flag at this point, guys.
That's the key, is patience. I mean, we've been kind of stressing that all night, Tim, at a track where if you try to bite off more than you can chew, it can come out and bite you. You know, it's not the monster mile. You know, Darlington is its own challenge in its own right. Same concept is you got to respect the racetrack, and a lot of these drivers, like Brad Davies now, on the bumper to Keister, who just lost his spot to Luza a little bit ago. So the 17 on the back foot here, a little bit slower on the long run. Davies could dive into the inside any laps he wants. Instead, has to be patient, has to wait for the opportunity to present itself, and you know how much he wants that one more spot, because that one more point could be the difference between being in the playoffs or not. And 2 weeks from now, as you can see Leahy now really starting to stretch it over.
But if you're in the case of Brad Davies and you kind of step the wrong foot, or anybody that's battling around that bubble position to try to get in the playoffs, you step the wrong foot, you're going to lose a ton of ground. And some of those drivers that were battling around that bubble a little bit earlier on had some issues with their race cars. So you really have to kind of play that out and kind of manage that as well and get yourself a good finish and do some points racing this evening at Darlington. But Keegan Leahy out in front, about a half second back to Michael Conti, and then Michael Conti has just over a half second on Ottinger, and then Logan Clampett's not too far behind. The first real battle is going to be for fifth. How about Malik Ray on the back bumper of Kane Cook?
He has been blistering fast on this most recent run. There's the onboard look. Keegan Leahy, left-hand side of your screen. Michael Conti on the bottom of that duo, and the big screen is on board with the 8. You're looking up to Leahy leading this race. That's what about 0.4 of a second looks like at Darlington. Neither of those drivers saying a single thing right now on the radio, and I'm sure the team knows that they don't have to give a much more than an update every couple of laps on what is left on the scoring pylon. Let the pro do their thing from behind the wheel.
And that gap is about equalized or so as they continue to battle. As you see, I think Justin Prince mentioned it a little bit earlier, that Keegan Leahy was in the middle of a move. That looks like a different room than we saw 2 weeks ago. So it looks like he just unpacked his sim rig, and he's looking solid so far.
He's got some monitor boxes in the back. Curious, it looks like he's gotten them set up already. I'm just guessing based on where his camera is, Tim, that he's got all 3 of those monitors probably set up, and the webcam's over to the right-hand side. So I think he's got the monitors set up. We had a big discussion about this in Daytona with some drivers having some power outage and equipment issues, kind of how important that is to a sim racer. But it looks like Keegan moved and in a different room at least, has gotten his setup more or less put back together for a big race on Tuesday night. And no better way to celebrate than to try to break a deadlock with Bobby Zelensky. Both those drivers, as I mentioned earlier, 2-time race winners this season. Garrett Lowe, the highest running driver with no wins this year, 3rd in the points. But they both sit 1 win shy of the benchmark set by Ryan Luza, who's a 3-time race winner from this season. Luza's wins coming consecutively earlier this year, back-to-back-to-back at Homestead, Bristol, and Richmond. So if Leahy can close this thing out, he'll tie him season high of 3.
Battle brewing late for what was be position number 7. That is the 17 of Colin Keister, Ryan Luza, and then Brad Davies trying to pick up a couple of spots here. The final few laps of this one, Malik Ray has taken position number 5 away from Kane Cook. Kane Cook a little ways ahead of this battle 11, but as long as he can keep it straight, he should be able to maintain position number 6. This should be the battle for 7th all the way down to checker.
Yeah, pretty impressed with Keister, though, to be able to get back into this as Luza goes to the inside, because it was the opposite of this a few laps ago, where Luza made the pass and Keister had fallen back to the clutches of Davies. That look to the inside just does not pay off that time, but impressive enough for him to be able to stay ahead and to be able to drive back up and at least challenge Ryan Luza to try to get back up to P7. But I think most importantly for him, stay ahead of Davies. That would be a critical point kept away from the 88, who's got a lot to deal with. He's one of those drivers, Tim, by the bubble, that is crunching the single points. Lewis is not concerned about 1 point here, 1 point there. He's worried about losing both points. That's the only way he could find himself in trouble. So two very different situations for a couple of those drivers in that fight.
These drivers up in front are going to come down to 2 laps to go this time, Evan. The 32 of Keegan Leahy, the 8 of Michael Conti. Conti was able to tack down about a tenth a couple laps ago, and there's about another half tenth, but it's been hundredths the last couple laps, Evan. With only 2 laps to go, he's going to need about a tenth and a half a lap, and that's just to get to the back bumper of this 32 car. Keegan Leahy has absolutely dominated tonight, and he's a lap and a half away from taking another win this time at Darlington, trying to close the deal.
The key is to keep the car clean. This time at 4, white flag in the air. Final time around from Darlington. It is clean racetrack up the road, so lap traffic will not be a factor. And what a night. Michael Conti dominated early, but lost the top spot to Keegan Leahy on pit road. The 32 went to the race lead, and he did not look back since. Final time in 3 and 4. Conti drives it in. He's not going to be able to pull it out as he slides, and Keegan Leahy, a 3-time winner in 2020, gets it done at Darlington.
And if you remember last year, he had this race slip through his fingers. He did it this time, did it in dominating fashion. Leahy goes to victory lane.
Wonder how many laps his breath was held for there. You could see the big exhale and all of that stress come off as he came across the start-finish line. Win number 3, going to keep him right at the top of the championship standings. Granted, yes, it's all going to reset at the end of the regular season, but most importantly, still winning keeps him solidified in the championship favorite conversation. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR.
And that throwback scheme that he has, Evan, that 32 car, won the last time it was here in 2003, albeit Keegan Leahy had a little bit more of an advantage tonight, but he parks it on the start-finish line, a winner at Darlington Raceway.
Not quite as much of a nail-biter, but that's exactly how the number 32 wanted it to be. No doubt about it late, as he was at its best when it mattered the most. And Keegan Leahy going to take home the checkered flag. Conti closed a little bit. He's parked on the start-finish line. Keegan Leahy continues an extremely impressive 2020 campaign. His race wins earlier this season coming in pretty exciting fashion. A season opener at Daytona, and then most recently at the Brickyard, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Seems to have a knack for getting it done at the most thrilling of venues, and I believe this will mark career win for Keegan Leahy. You talk about these drivers padding the stats and moving on up. I think that'll be career win number 8 for him. That puts him still 6th all time. Let's rewind though. Take a look at our Coca-Cola move of the race and what got the job done for the 32, Tim, and it was getting it secured on the restart.
And there was a few of these restarts throughout the middle portion and the early portion of this race. And there it is right there. Keegan Leahy, so rock solid in that number 32 car. They were fighting for position number 2 on most of these restarts this evening. And that's what got him the race win. The Coca-Cola move of the race was all these restarts.
Over and over, and in the sim, Tim, he controls the restart between when the pace car dives down and the green flag actually coming out outside of the restart box. It's much more open than what you see in NASCAR Cup Series racing. Gives a lot more control to the control car. He left every single time the second that pit lane got down and away, and really didn't give even an opening to give Michael Conti hope that it was going to be a steal tonight. And was pretty certain that he was going to close this one out as Leahy gets checkered flag at number 3 on 2020. There it was as he blocked off the 8. And to be fair, Tim, the 8, the 25, all those drivers, they didn't let him walk away with it. They kept them honest all race long, but just too much to overcome.
And considering how the last race went at the Daytona International Speedway, had that power glitch, had that power issue, to come back and to go to victory lane, pretty spectacular. You've caught up with our winner.
We're standing by with your race winner tonight for the virtual Darlington Raceway. It is the driver of the number 32 Toyota, Keegan Leahy. Keegan, congratulations on the win here this evening. That car was up front all night long, and it'll be interesting because tell me about the pass for the race win, which happens on pit road, and of course, then you had to play defense for the rest of the night.
Yeah, that's just how it goes, Evan. Honestly, I did not expect this win at all. This was my least prepared for race of the season. I've been in the middle of a move, moving to a new place, just so much going on. Full credit to Chris Shearburn and Bobby Zelensky for the work on the setup this week. Thanks so much for that. We put together a really good setup, especially on the long run. Credit to this VRS Strikeforce Pro wheel. Uh, like my hands are cramped up, so that might be a negative, but I couldn't have held on to this car without it. I don't think. I don't know if you caught those on the broadcast, but it was so incredibly difficult to drive this thing. Yeah, the pass for the lead. I don't think it was going to happen on the track as Michael Conti was incredibly fast all night. It took me till way past lap 30 in the run to even have some sort of an advantage against him, but he was right on my bumper the whole start of the run. And yeah, that pass in pit road came as a surprise. I didn't think I got a particularly great pit stop, but that's just how it goes sometimes. They drop the jack a little bit quicker than the other guy, and you get out in first. Yeah, like I was saying, I don't think there is going to be a pass on the racetrack, but super glad I can pick it up on pit road, and I didn't lose it on pit road in any of the other pit road cautions.
That was the key. You got up there, but you stayed up there through the restarts, through the trips down to the pit lane to get a third win for you this season. There's a lot of drivers up in the points that either don't have wins or have a couple, but they came really early on. Your wins have been quite spaced out. A season opener, our trip to Indianapolis, and now. So to be able to be consistent as we close on the end of this regular season, what does that consistency mean for you? Just trying to carry some momentum through, because I know you want to fight for that championship this year.
Yeah, I think I might have been talking to you earlier this year, Evan, about how important keeping motivation up all the way through the year is really important. And I said if I get locked into this playoff or if I have a really good standing, I'm not going to let up on it. This week was a bit of an exception, but I put in every bit of work I could have this week, and next week's going to be no different, even though I'm pretty much locked in. I think I might even be mathematically locked at this point. But full effort next week, going for another win. I'm pretty sure, I'm not very good at the rule book situation, but I think we get 3 bonus points to start the playoffs for every win we have. So this win does matter, even though it's not cementing myself in the playoffs or anything like that. It might help get me to that final round and go for the win, the championship win.
Couple of tricky weeks still to come before we get there with Vegas and Talladega coming up next, but a race winner tonight from Darlington. Keegan, we appreciate the time. Congrats.
Thanks. Shout out to Pash for the help this week, too.
Race winner tonight under the lights from Darlington, South Carolina. We'll move down the pit lane. Tim Terry, you're with P2 tonight. That's Michael Conti.
Yeah, Michael Conti comes up just a little bit short in position number 2. Michael up in the top 3 all night long. What else did you need to get up there and battle with Keegan Leahy?
Yeah, we had a really, really, really good WR1 number 8 Chevy tonight. Best car I've had all season. Thanks to the guys for really making that happen. Car carried me tonight, but yeah, we didn't really have any opportunities to pass. It may have looked like I didn't attempt to make a move on the broadcast, but I mean, it was pretty much next to impossible to pass a car of equal speed on the bottom. You would just lose all of your momentum and then be vulnerable to the people behind you. So we just played it smart. I made a couple moves on them, didn't work. If we could have gotten out in front of them, I know we could have held them off. Really, really look back to that first pit stop when we lost the lead, and unfortunately just the first pit stall, you don't get good traction out, and those guys got around me. But again, super excited to get the car up front. The guys at Junior Motorsports deserve cars that are up front, and the last 3 or 4 races haven't been great. So to get them back up in the top 5 of the second here tonight is really good, and it puts us in a great spot going into Vegas in 2 weeks.
You talked about that rebound. Vegas in 2 weeks, and we go to Talladega. You're going to get a little bit more of a cushion in that points picture going in. Does it make it any easier going into these final 2?
It definitely takes some of the pressure off. Last race at Daytona, we had a 51-point lead going into that. Unfortunately, got caught up in that first wreck with Bolin. Again, no wrongdoing in his part, just unfortunate. And that cut the lead a little bit. Wasn't too bad, though, but I'm not really sure where the points shook out after tonight. But with some of the guys around the bubble finishing in the back, I know that should put us in a pretty good position going into Vegas, where we should be pretty decent. And then hopefully going into Talladega, we can have more than a race lead. So if the worst thing happens there, which would be finishing last again, it wouldn't be too bad. But again, I can't thank these guys enough that I work with. I've worked with the same group for 3 or 4 years now, and we work so well together, and we haven't always gotten the results we needed, but it really showed tonight. So thanks to them. Thanks to some other people out there that have really kept my head on straight the last couple months, especially. I want to give a shout out to Tree. He's watching. He's been a big part of this the last 4 years. So I can't thank him enough for his support, and just really thankful to come out of here with a good finish.
Now, before we let you go, your team or your roommate finished in position number 4. You finished in second. Is there any celebration tonight?
I don't think he's too happy with 4th. I mean, he's thankful that he's got some points. I mean, I could ask him how he feels. Logan, how do you feel after that?
Get him on the camera.
He's feeling pretty good. Okay, he's feeling pretty good. Yeah, he wants an interview, but you have to finish a little bit better for that. So sorry, Logan. Maybe next time, right?
Is he camera shy or something?
Or I can try to move it. Let's see. Where is he? Can we see him? There he is over there. I don't know if that's facing him, but that's the best I can do with what I've got. So, Tim, it's always good talking to you too, buddy. We've been doing this a long time. It's cool to see where the series has come. Coke has really taken it to the next level. So big thanks to them as well.
It's good to see you again. Michael Conti coming home with position number 2. And Evan, great run for him and a great run for the guy in the 25 car. Nick Ottinger finishes 3rd.
Yeah, it's a great run for Nick Ottinger, but it is a timely run for him as well, because it's going to give him a lot of critical points now with just 2 weeks left to go in the regular season. Chatting now with the driver of the 25 Chevy. Nick, how big is this P3 for you?
Huge. I mean, we got one more race till we hit Dega, and we just want to build a cushion till we go to Dega. And our Logitech team we're putting together some string of good runs. I mean, we had a chance to win a couple weeks ago at Daytona, and just bad line. But I mean, we're putting a string of good races for these playoffs, and everyone at William Byron Esports. I mean, John's putting better qualifying efforts, and just we gotta get him a little bit better finishing positions. But I mean, end of the day, for us as a whole team, man, this is big. This is huge.
The closer you can get to 45 ahead of the cut line going into Talladega, going to help you guys out with Vegas due up next, a race that maybe going to have a little bit less unpredictability than Daytona past and Darlington here this evening. What's the prep work going to be like going into that one, knowing that that's kind of your last guaranteed look at kind of controlling your own destiny in this whole deal?
Yeah, well, we're not going to change much of what we've been doing here with who we work with. I mean, we work with John a lot and work with Michael Connie and Logan Clampin. We're not going to change much. I mean, our goal every single race is to bring in a winning car, no matter if we're battling for first in points, 8th in points, or really dead last in points. I mean, that's the goal each and every week. I mean, we go weekly and race by race to perform at our best ability. And I mean, right now we're just putting a good string of races together. And Vegas it's been a good track for me. It had the results there. I mean, but we're going to probably have to build for a little bit more of a pack style race in there and make sure you have a good handling car for maneuvering from bottom to top.
Well, we dealt with the business. I'll ask you a fun one before we let you go. What was it like having, I think, the youngest throwback paint scheme in the field here tonight, representing the boss man from just a couple of years ago? If I read correctly on social media, you guys surprised him with that one?
Yeah, man. It was it sucked for so long having to really keep it from him, because I knew for a couple of weeks what we were doing. But I mean, to see a smile on his face, to see something so special to him and to William Byron Esports, I mean, it was definitely on that video. I mean, he was so happy to be able to see it. I mean, we ran practice laps Saturday and he got to see it in virtual person, I would say. And I mean, it was cool. I mean, anytime you can pay homage to your car owner, and him being young, I mean, yeah, it's cool, but I mean, it's so special for him to win a championship in that scheme. And hopefully done proud tonight, getting 3rd. And I mean, we're going to keep our head forward and bring a good car for Vegas.
Well, it sounds good, and it certainly looked good up front here tonight. Nick, thanks for chatting. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you, man. You guys have a good one.
Your P3 finisher tonight from Darlington. Let's take a look at your full race results tonight from this one. And a big thanks, Keegan, Michael, and Nick, for chatting with us. 1, 2, 3. That is a lot of critical points, Tim, for those top runners, all drivers in that playoff 8.
And how about Malik Ray finishing in position number 5 here this evening? You look down the list, Justin Bolton had to go. He got up into the top 15. Dylan Duvall as well. There's a driver that's fighting for the cutoff.
And of course, the rough nights for some of the drivers involved in incidents. Jimmy Mullis was looking to gain on a playoff bubble. That does not happen tonight with a P26. Zach Novak looking to gain on a bubble towards the relegation. He was involved in incidents. Casey Kerwin up front for a lot of it. Does not finish up at the front. That really hurts his hopes as well for the relegation. There is your updated points coming out of this evening. Unofficially, Ray Alfala maintains his playoff bubble for the top 8 by 20. But Tim, nobody plus 90. So we don't have anybody officially locked in yet. Expect a lot to happen headed out of the next race. But everybody now this side, from Christian Challoner on down, mathematically eliminated from fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, 24th on back. Those guys are going to be fighting they're going to be fighting to get into the top 20, 23rd on back. They're going to be fighting to get into the top 20 to make sure that they are in this series for next year. And there are a lot of big names that don't want to go through that Pro Series to try to get back in here for 2021.
The one battle ends, they pick up that next battle to try to stay into this. So now we look ahead, Tim. We go to Las Vegas Motor Speedway 2 weeks' time. Another one of those tracks that has been on the schedule in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series for years and years and years. Got a realistic expectation of what we'll see in the penultimate round of the regular season?
Yeah, I think we're going to see some more manageable racing at Las Vegas, and then we're going to see the Talladega Super Speedway round. So you kind of got what you had here tonight, and you kind of got to control your own destiny in 2 weeks' time at Las Vegas before we go into Talladega if you want a playoff spot.
And we hope everybody tunes in with us then in 2 weeks' time. But until then, that's it for us here tonight from Darlington. So on behalf of our entire team at iRacing, NASCAR, and everybody downstairs working on the crew tonight, for Doug Hunt, Tyler Maxson, James Pike, Tim Burns, Alex Horn, Jake Kennedy, Sean Ambrose, Malik Streeter, Michael Watson, Cisco Scaramouza, our producer, Jew Adamson, for Justin Prince down on pit road, Tim Terry, and myself, Evan Pasoko. I want to thank all of you for tuning in and congratulate Keegan Leahy, a 3-time winner 2020. We're back in 2 weeks' time from virtual Viva Las Vegas on Tuesday, September the 22nd. That race and every race of the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Until next time, good night from Darlington.